All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Earth's Mightiest Comics. This is the show where every episode we talk about some new comics from the past, at this point, like a month or so. And we give you our thoughts on them. We let you know if we thought they were pretty solid or just very, very rough. This week, as per usual, we have quite a lot of stuff to talk about. Like new issues of Absolute Batman. We can finally talk about Spider-Man now. We're jumping onto this 8 Deaths of Spider-Man arc thing with the new writer. Also a new series from Psylocke, the next X-Men from the Ashes book, along with stuff like Ultimate X-Men and Uncanny X-Men. But we're going to start off with what was for me at least the biggest release of the week, and that is G.I. Joe #1. Biggest new release, I should say at the very least. And so yeah, this is G.I. Joe #1 from Image Comics, from the Skybound imprint, and from the Energon universe. It is written by Joshua Williamson, the writer of Duke and Cobra Commander, and the artist is Tom Riley, the artist of Duke as well. And so, yeah, this is a big deal for the Energon universe. This is what it has in large part been building to over the past year or so, starting with Duke #1. So, you know, it's something that's been building for a while. It's been building, in the kind of background for a while. And so this was kind of, I think this did have a lot of eyes on it because of that, because this universe has been very popular as well, between, this Void Rivals, Transformers, all that stuff. So this is like for now at least, the last big addition to the universe. I'm sure we'll get some other books in future, but I do think that from kind of everything I've seen behind the scenes stuff, the creative teams do want to keep the universe fairly slim in terms of number of books to not overwhelm the readers. And so as a result, I do think that it's not super likely we did a whole bunch of other books in this universe. So this is kind of the last big edition, I feel, for a while at least. And yeah, so we got Josh Williamson and Tom Riley on it, and so we're kind of picking up not too long after the events of like Duke, it seems, where the team is together, right? We've got all the team members. We've got Duke, we've got Baroness, we've got Clutch, we've got Cover Girl, who I had never heard of before. We've got Hawk is leading them. There's Rock and Roll and Stalker. So I believe that's all the team. So basically, the issue starts off as like a training montage with the whole group. They do that kind of like fun, like 80s kind of style thing where Hawk is asking Duke what he thinks of the team. And then like they kind of cycle through them one by one. And it's like, Cover Girl. And then it kind of, has Duke talking about her, kind of introducing her to the audience while she's doing like a cool action thing in the background. And it goes like Rock and Roll. It is like it does that thing for all of the characters. It's fun. None of the character introductions are like so lengthy that it makes it, slow the pacing down at all. I think that was a fun way to introduce everybody. But the training mission does not go super well. Duke and Baroness almost both die because of like a parachuting issue. And so there's kind of some team back and forth banter stuff. Hawk is kind of giving Duke a pep talk on how to, try to lead the team in a way that lets his team be the best versions of themselves rather than just, kind of copies of him. And then they go on a mission because essentially they mention the fact that part of Cybertron has fallen to Earth. And so now both Duke and, both G.I. Joe and Cobra are both trying to go after it and get it. So basically G.I. Joe has the mission to go and kind of protect it at this facility while, some people are doing some research on it and stuff. They want to make sure that Cobra doesn't get the Cybertronian tech first, but then Cobra shows up and attacks the facility while G.I. Joe is there. There's kind of a big fight there. And then one of the members, I believe it's Rock and Roll, gets like vaporized by a plasma gun or something.
He gets shot a bunch of times with the new gun that Destro made.
Right. So that is the end of the issue. I do wonder, like, I kind of doubt that he's dead. However, I also think, like, I don't know how anybody survives that.
Yeah.
So they might be down a team member already, but regardless. So yeah, I don't actually know how much I've got to say on this. I do think, like, it is nice. This does feel like a genuine kind of merging of the worlds of this and Transformers. Like, the Transformers are not in this at all, but the fact that they're discussing them and discussing the Cybertronian stuff, it does do a lot, I think, to build out the world and kind of remind the readers that these are all set in the same universe. And I think, that stuff is cool. And it's good to have that combined sense of world building from, both sides of the book and everything. I think that is one of the stronger parts of this. I did also like, stuff like Duke's talk with Hawk, I think was pretty good. Again, that opening montage was pretty cool. I don't know. I think that last action sequence I wasn't as into. It wasn't bad or anything. It just kind of felt like, yeah, here it is. But there also are some like cool, genuinely cool action beats. I think that is something that Josh Williamson has always kind of nailed in his G.I. Joe work. Like the action stuff when it happens is usually pretty. There's some cool action beats and moments in there. But yeah, I don't know. Something about this one, I don't think this is bad. I think this is still pretty good, but there was something about it that felt a little bit kind of emptier than I was kind of expecting. And I don't know if that's really the right word, but that's kind of the only one I can think of, where it just felt like something was missing, and I'm not sure what. But of course, like I'm invested in this universe. I'm invested in these characters by this point. I'm invested in this world. So of course I'm going to stick with it. And I am excited to see where it goes and how this continues to link in with stuff like Transformers and presumably Void Rivals in the future. But yeah, this one, I wouldn't say it was disappointing, but it was kind of close to that point where I was hoping for a little bit more and I just didn't quite get it.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, I was, I don't know, like, I kind of like what you said, like, just like, it felt empty. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting a bit more than this, I also don't really know what to like talk about with this one, honestly, because it's like I liked, there was the bit with the Cobra Commander where you like kind of actually saw him without, you saw like the back part of his head and whatever, like without the mask and stuff. You saw like he's like disfigured. His hand is like all like it's like a metal hand. You talk with Destro and stuff like that. And then you get to the G.I. Joe stuff, and you get the intro to each and every individual character and all this stuff, and like I don't know, it's just I guess I was expecting more, but it was it felt empty. What else? I guess I don't know, man. It seems like everybody's dying in this place, right? Because I mean, Stalker had a grenade like on his foot, and then we just saw an explosion, and we saw him laying on the ground. I don't know. We don't know if he's dead, honestly.
Explosions are not fatal in this kind of book. He's probably fine.
Exactly. That's why I'm just like maybe he like was able to like take it away, and we just weren't able to see that, or who knows. But yeah, Rock and Roll's fate that's a bit iffy. Because we saw what that gun can do to things. Yeah. So if that really did, because there was like 2 in his arm, 2 in his leg. There's like 1 in his like eye. That I'm like, I don't see him walking away from that really. But who knows? He was specifically stated right before getting shot that he's been shot before. So I don't know about that though. But I don't know. This is a bit. I don't know. I guess I was expecting more, honestly though. Like it wasn't. Yeah. This grand thing that I was waiting for. Honestly, right. I feel like we've had like what 4 leading up to this one, and we get this as the first one. I don't know, just felt a bit slow. I would say it just felt slow. I feel we could have rushed into this one a bit more, honestly, especially after we've like had a bunch of other things like already leading up to this one. I feel we could have started this one off a bit faster, but we'll stick with it for now. It's still it's forming itself. I think it's trying to figure out what G.I. Joe wants to be right now. But right now I don't know. I'm feeling a 6.
Yeah, I don't quite know what I'm feeling. After reading it, I was kind of set on giving it an 8. To be fair, I actually think that was because I wanted it to be that, and so I kind of was like, no, it was good. It was decent enough. I can give it an 8. I think probably a 7 is more where I'm actually feeling. I don't know if I agree that it feels too slow. I don't actually quite know how they could have gotten into this much faster. I think the training mission, I actually like that as an introduction to the team. I think that works. I think the conversation between Hawk and Duke, I think, is kind of a necessary pacing mechanism. And I think that conversation works fine enough. And I also, of course, I don't think you can really drop the Cobra stuff. And I do think, obviously you need that last action sequence. So I don't know quite how they would have done it differently. For me, I don't know. I think maybe it's like a situation of there kind of being too many characters right now that Josh Williamson is having a harder time balancing it immediately. Because I mean, outside of Duke and Baroness, I feel like I don't really know what any of these guys' deals are, and the only reasons I know what their two deals are is because of the solo book that Duke had, where Baroness also played a fairly sizable role. And I know like Rock and Roll Stalker and Clutch were also in that series, but they didn't quite get the same amount of, focus that those other two did. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. So yeah, we'll kind of see. I hope there's some kind of more stuff that gets brought into this, and I hope it kind of clears itself up and establishes this team in a more compelling way. But yeah, this first one is not immediately. It didn't land where I was hoping it would. So yeah, I think 7 is where I'm gonna throw it.
I'll talk about Terminator here real quick.
All right, I did not read this.
Yeah, I told him to read it, and he didn't read it.
Okay, that's not what happened, but
this is exactly what happened.
If you want to know what actually happened, this issue on League of Comics was kind of getting bounced around a whole bunch of different weeks. So we looked at it last week, and it said it was coming out on the 20th. And so as a result, Sebastian said he wasn't going to make me read it. So, and then it ended up actually dropping on the 13th, which is the week we're talking about. So I didn't end up reading it.
Yeah, I was bamboozled and
should have known. Anyway,
we do have a psychic link after all.
We do.
That's what happens when you podcast with someone for long enough. You start to develop telepathy with them.
Yeah, this is how we communicate.
Yeah.
We don't text or anything. We just speak with our minds.
The only reason we're talking now is because the audience needs to hear us. But otherwise, we would just relay all this information through our minds.
Exactly. Anyway, writer Declan Shalvey, artist David O'Sullivan. So this one seems to be it's going to be a continuation one, unlike the first one where it was just like a one-off story. This one is part 1 of I have no idea how many, and this one takes place during the Vietnam War, but I think like towards the end of it, I want to say.
Yeah, it does say the war is winding down. So
yeah. Basically, our main character that I focus on, Edward Dugan. He is basically he kind of narrates the fact that just like that wartime feel like I don't know, like a lot of war veterans usually say like they are afraid to go back home and they don't want to go back home because they're just so used to the war and stuff like that. So he kind of starts off like that, and then we cut to him talking to, I believe, Hernandez, another fellow soldier, and they're basically in town talking about how Edward is he's been going around sleeping with women even though he has a wife and stuff like that, and like he doesn't want to leave. Basically, they get back to base though, and he learns that they are actually getting called out and they're getting pulled out, and so he runs away. And not because he's like afraid to leave at this point. He's generally fine with leaving. He says that there's a treasure that he left behind somewhere else, and that he has to go grab it first, and then he's gonna come back, but he'd be in time like for pickup or whatever. So at this point, right, the Terminator lands in some like remote village in Vietnam, and I don't know, is that appropriate to say Viet Cong? Is that like derogatory? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think that was like the official name of their group at the time. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. Viet Cong.
Yeah.
One of them sees the Terminator and he like goes at him and like throws a hatchet in his head. Terminator kills him with that same hatchet and just steals his clothes. And then as he's walking away, a bunch more of them see him and they start shooting at him. And did he kill them? I can't remember if he killed them or not specifically. We'll say for this purpose, he killed them, and then these 2 tanks rolled up, and he destroyed both of those tanks. But essentially, he's in the middle of the fight with the Viet Cong. So we cut back to Edward at this point, and he went to like a house area, and there's this other guy there. I guess his name is Fawn, according to the character list here. But he's like an older looking guy. I guess everybody in that little where Edward went to like left, but Fawn didn't because he's like old and he just like be holding them all back and stuff like that. So I guess I'm assuming at this point Edward left behind like a child that he like had with a woman over there. Honestly, I don't see what other reason he'd have for going to like this remote little like house area and basically being like, where did they go? I assume it's like a child he had with a lady. And so Fawn tells him like they left. And so Edward goes back out to try and explore. That's when he comes across the Terminator. He assumes that it was like the U.S. that sent it, and I guess the Terminator's main goal was actually to kill Edward. So as Edward is driving away again, it shoots at his motorcycle, and I think that's where it ends, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I don't know, man. It was pretty all right, honestly. I wasn't bored reading it or anything like that. It was like, I don't know. It's not like the most interesting thing in the world, but like, I don't know. I really don't know how to explain how I feel about this, right? Because like, I'm saying like G.I. Joe I found like slow, but this one was like probably about the same pacing, but I found this one a little bit more interesting. I don't know if it's just the fact that like, they're still world building this a little bit compared to like G.I. Joe where they've had a lot of time to world build.
Well, you also, I feel like you probably know the Terminator more than you know G.I. Joe as well, right?
Yeah, like I've only ever really seen the movies, and even that I haven't even seen all of them.
Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the G.I. Joe stuff. I have seen 3 of the Terminator movies. So.
Well, I mean, G.I. Joe, I've seen like the 2 most recent movies that have come out.
Okay, so Snake Eyes and...
Well, I have seen Snake Eyes, but that really has not... It's not very G.I. Joe-ish.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I mean, it does have Scarlet and Baroness, but I hated their characters. Snake Eyes himself was also really bad.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, man. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I know Terminator goes back in time to kill John Connor, and that's like basically the entire series. So I don't know what this Edward Dugan guy has anything to do with this, but. I don't know.
Yeah, it's its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. It just felt. I don't know. It felt like it had better pacing. I guess I say. Yeah, like it felt solid. It felt like a good read. It kept me somewhat interested the entire time. Like it felt like the character felt like natural. Everything just flowed really well, I think. So yeah, I actually didn't mind this one. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I will see if I read the next one. I have no idea.
The next one appears to be the finale for this 2-part story. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll probably just finish this one, and I just won't go for the next one. Yeah. I don't know.
It's the 3 rule, Sebastian.
Well, not even the 3 rule. I just thought it was gonna be. I thought the series was just gonna be something very different.
Yeah.
Than what it is, and so yeah, I'm just like. I don't know. I thought I was gonna read this one and just be like, okay, this is another one-shot stories thing, but this one's like a 2-parter now, and so I'm like, okay, I don't really want to be bouncing around like this.
Yeah.
With this one too much, so. But yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it honestly. I thought it was pretty all right, so I'm gonna give it a 7.
All right. Well, you know what? I guess I'll go. I'll talk about Helen of Wyndhorn here. This is Helen of Wyndhorn number 6. It is the finale of Helen of Wyndhorn. I have not thought about this book for a couple months. I had continued to pick it up because I was very high on the first, 3 issues or so, which is the ones that I thought about on the podcast. But then I just kind of fell off it because there was kind of I'm assuming there was just a lot of other stuff on the weeks that this series was going on. And so I just, as a result, kind of ended up prioritizing some other ones. But I did end up reading all 3 of the last ones in time for this. And yeah, so this issue, I don't think it's the strongest of the series, but I do still think it is pretty spectacular. And it doesn't start off seeming like it's going to be. I actually thought the start of this was not bad at all, but I did think it was a little bit less immediately engaging than some of the other issues we've had. But I think by the end, and by the middle and by the end, it does kind of come full circle and do some stuff that I think is pretty fantastic. So this is essentially, it's showcasing another one of Helen and Barnabas's adventures into the other world, which is, we haven't really seen that much of, actually. We've seen it basically just in this issue and in issue number 3. Those are the 2 that we did see the most of that other world in. So they're going around just having this adventure, exploring this other world, basically going to the place where Helen's mom was buried, which is in this like underwater, like palace. It's very kind of Atlantis feeling. And so they kind of go there, and on that trip, we kind of see this does take place seemingly at least a couple of weeks or months after the previous issue. And so we see that Barnabas has softened towards Helen, and they've built like a, much more healthy grandfather-granddaughter relationship than it was previously at. And so we kind of get to also hear more about Helen's father. We get to kind of hear more from Barnabas in general about, Helen and her heritage and all of that. And so that is kind of, for all intents and purposes, that is kind of the part of this issue that is substantial. There is some stuff afterwards where, we did kind of the closing out of the framing story that's been kind of built up in the series overall. That has felt like the least necessary part of this series. I don't think it's really added much to it. I don't think it's like, I don't think it detracts from the series either, but there hasn't been much of it. And what has been there, I just don't think has been, interesting enough to justify its inclusion. But the stuff in the past, the stuff revolving around Helen, I do think works really well. And of course, like I didn't even mention, I don't think the creative team is Tom King and Bilquis Evely. The art is just amazing. It's so like stunning. Every panel is just like so. It's rendered in such this incredible way. This creative team, this same creative team, also worked on the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow series from a couple of years ago, which I have, and I've been meaning to read it for a while, but especially after reading this series, I am more I'm more motivated to go back and read that, because I do think like the art on its own, I think, is so good that it automatically makes this series worth reading. And it's also like this issue shows, and this series has shown, that Tom Kane, who I would say I'm generally pretty mixed on, he really can write. Like I think a lot of his ongoing work at DC has been kind of iffy, but when you get Tom King to write a more, tight, smaller, shorter series, that's tightly plotted out from start to end, from the beginning, like he can write a damn good book. Like he has an incredible handle on just language and the craft of writing. Like he's technically a very gifted and skilled writer. It's just getting the plot points and everything nailed down to a point where it feels cohesive and engaging from beginning to end. And I think something like this is the perfect showcase of his writing. And just I loved again, like when they were just kind of doing some of the more adventures through the other world in this issue, I was a little bit less interested in it. But once they got to that point where they were talking about Helen's family and all of her kind of heritage and her mom and everything, who she had never met, I do think like it just turns into this really touching examination on family and the meaning of it, and the nature of how that affects like you, like how your parents kind of affect you and everything. Like all of that stuff I think was amazing, and it's carried out way better than any Fast and Furious movie could ever hope to achieve. So yeah, a great end to the series, a great series in general. The series is definitely going to be on my top 10 year-end list. I'm calling it right now. And I would be surprised if it was not very high on that list. So I'm going to give it a 9. Again, not the best issue of the series, I don't think. But again, that familial examination did really end up building this to, I think, a point where, it is still a fantastic conclusion. And also, by the way, leaves the door open for stuff in future. I don't think we're going to get a sequel series to this, but it does not end in like a definitive place where Helen dies or something, or we get to see the kind of conclusion of her journeys in this other world. Like there is stuff you could still do with this. I do hope they just kind of leave this as is, though, because as it stands, this is just a fantastic 6-issue miniseries, which I think is already a fantastic series. But I think it also is going to become one that we look back very fondly as the years continue to go on as well.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy that series.
I think you might have. I almost made you read the 3rd issue because that's the one where they go into the other world, and I figured you maybe would like that more.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's move on to Absolute Batman.
Okay. This is Absolute Batman number 2, written by Scott Snyder. The artist is Nick Dragata. Now, I was not a fan of the first issue, Sebastian, as you know. I thought it was goofy as fucking hell. I mean, there were parts of it that I was like, I kind of get what it's going for, but it was mostly, I was just like, this is goofy. You did like the first issue. What do you think I thought of this issue?
I think you liked it. You hated it.
Yeah, I think I did like it.
Yeah.
That being said, we're going to skip around a little bit before we actually get to the main plot breakdown. We see the new Batmobile in this. You cannot tell me that you think the new Batmobile is cool, though, because that's so fucking stupid.
It's a giant dump truck.
Yeah, I hate the design. And that's not a slight to the artist, by the way. Like, Nick Dragata's art, I think, is good. I just think the concept of this Batmobile is horrendous. I really don't like the way it looks. So basically, it's it's we don't get too much more in terms of kind of huge plot advancements. There is a cool scene. Okay. There is a cool scene at the start. I do think the action sequence between Batman and the Black Mask gang at the start is pretty cool. It's in this aquarium. So, like, that was cool. However, there is one point, and it does work better in context than I think it should, but there's one point that's so stupid. Like, me explaining this to you is going to sound so fucking dumb, where Alfred is narrating this whole thing, and he's talking about, like, advancing forward versus, like, retreat and recover or whatever, and how Batman, he keeps thinking is going to end up reaching this point where he retreats. There's only so much he can do, and at a certain point, you think he's going to hit that wall and he'll have to retreat. But instead, he sees that Batman is just continually advancing forward, even after seeming setbacks. Like, he goes and, the Black Mask gang finds one of his safe houses, but then it seems like he kind of planned for that and blows it up, and it makes it looks like the bat symbol and the fire, and everything. And Alfred goes, what I realized is that this Batman, he never retreats. This is Batman advance forward. He always advances forward. He is Batman AF. And I'm just like, fuck off, man. Like, that is so... I think, like, writing like that, and again, it works better in context than I think it should. I flipped through this issue before I read it, and I saw that line, and I was like, no fucking way are they saying Batman AF. Like, that's so dumb. But to this issue's credit, I do think it works a little bit better in context. I still think it's kind of dumb, though. So anyway, after that, there's some nice, like, character building scenes. We get, particularly, there's one between Jim Gordon and Martha Wayne that I think is really effective at building up both of their characters. Like, I actually think that their dynamic is fantastic, and I think, their characters in this universe are interesting. I think more so with Martha, because we kind of, this Jim Gordon, I don't think is that far removed from the one in, Earth Prime. Of course, like, he's mayor in this one, so that's a little bit different. But yeah. I think fundamental character-wise, I think he's pretty similar. But Martha obviously has been dead for, almost, basically all of Batman's stories, certainly in the Prime Earth. And so seeing, this version of her, a character that is not, represented in the main universe, I think that is interesting. I think the way they're building her character up is good so far. And I think I like her added dynamic of her with Jim, I think in particular, because that's a dynamic, again, we don't ever see in Earth Prime. So that's all good stuff. Then we get the scene of Bruce going and playing poker with a bunch of his friends who are, his rogues gallery in Earth Prime. So we have, again, we have Penguin. We do have Riddler. We do see, like, actually that Riddler is here. I know we had some questions about that last issue. We got Killer Croc and Harvey Dent. There might be another one. I don't think so, though.
No, there was supposed to be Selena, but she's not there.
Yeah, she's in France or something. Or actually, it was Egypt, I think. They said Cairo.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they said Cairo. So that was cool. Basically, I think that actually was, again, well written. Dense scene, like, there's a lot of dialogue there, but I think it did not feel grating on me like the first one kind of did.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how I feel about Bruce's friends being his rogues gallery. I don't think it's bad, and I think so far it's been executed fine. I just don't know. That concept to me doesn't immediately make me go, ooh, whoa, that's cool, that's interesting. But it works fine enough here. And then we get another scene of Bruce going up against the Black Mask gang. He acts on the information that he gets from, his friends about what the Black Mask gang might be doing. And when he gets to this location, he's trying to get some information. Black Mask shows up on, like, a video feed and kind of taunts him. And he's like, all my people are here. Everybody's coming for you, Batman. And so that's when he drops down beneath the building. And Alfred is there and is like, I can help you. And Bruce is like, all right, but we're going to go in this Batmobile that I'm in. And it's a big fucking house, basically. Again, I don't like the new Batmobile. I think it's dumb. I think, like, the Batmobile, for me, I just prefer it when it's, like, sleek, kind of a much more slimmed down design. This, like, huge fucking tank thing, I think, kind of defeats the purpose of the Batmobile. It's fine. I don't think it's terrible. It's not the end of the world, obviously, but I just think it's less interesting to have, like, Batman just driving a tank around. And then that's basically the end of the main issue. We do also get to see a brief scene of Catwoman, Selena, in flashback going and saying hi to Bruce and being like, come on, Bruce. That's the kind of last page cliffhanger, but that is all we get in terms of this issue. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I just need to go back and like reread the first issue or if I just kind of accepted it more here. But I do think this issue is better. I do think Scott Snyder's dialogue worked much better for me. I think, it was still wordy, but it didn't feel overwrought like I felt the first one did. I think the action was better. I think the action in particular was less goofy because it didn't have the weird like Batman uses his bat emblem as an axe. Again, stuff like Batman AF and the tank Batmobile, I'm not huge fans of. There is still stuff in this that I think is goofy and dumb, but I do think it played a little bit better here than it did in the first one. And so I came away from this enjoying it much more. I think the character moments worked. I think the action works much better here. So I am now actually kind of on board with this series. I know I had mentioned maybe potentially dropping it in future. I'm not planning to now anymore because I do think this is a pretty solid, a much more solid issue. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm not like entirely on board with this book. I am still somewhat skeptical because of that first issue, but I do think like this puts the book in a better place that makes me more interested at least to see where it's going to go from here.
No, I mean, this one was good. I like this one. I think it was pretty good. Do I like it more than the first one? No, not. I did like the aquarium scene as well. For the most part, like, it felt, how do I explain this? It felt very early Batman, where he's like, I don't know, it's not early Batman. It's a very different Batman than what we are used to. He's much more, clumsy, I want to say, if anything, but I don't think clumsy is the right word per se.
I think he's kind of more just like a tank. He's much more like willing to just tank hits than I think Prime Earth Batman is.
Exactly. Yeah, that's probably better. It's just he's more straightforward with everything. He's not like the Batman we're used to, where he kind of hides and all this stuff. He's just much more of a straightforward, like head-on, like kind of guy in this one. So it's a bit getting used to, honestly, for me. And then what else? Yeah. I mean, dialogue and all that stuff, I think it was pretty good. I think the whole like Rogues Gallery meeting with Bruce was like interesting. You got to see how they each like kind of talk, right? Because they were doing it like in the middle of like what I assume is poker. I have no idea what they were playing, honestly.
I also think it's poker, but I don't know card games. Could have been fucking solitaire for all I know.
It was definitely not solitaire. They were
betting. It was solitaire.
Usually, if you're betting like that with cards, I assume you're usually doing poker, honestly.
Not the kind of I'm pretty sure they were solitaire playing, I play, Sebastian. I'm always betting on solitaire. I'm pretty
sure they were playing poker actually because they called like 3 different hands. So anyway, yeah, just the way that he was like basically trying to ask roundabout questions to get like the answer, but like. Like kind of like mysteriously, like he's being like, oh, what's up with you now and these people, and they're like, oh, well, this and this, but it's like kind of codish, but not really. He asks Enigma, Penguin, and then there's Dent, who I feel like at this point Dent is like the most like powerful, like wise, because he actually works for like he's still like I think he's still like the DA.
He's still DA, I think, yeah.
Penguin I think is like. He's just a lot more low, and same with Enigma. Like,
yeah, it seems more like theft kind of thing.
It's a lot more lower than what,
as opposed to being a big supervillain.
Exactly. Yeah. They're a lot lower on the chain, and I think that's like basically Bruce's like main intel at this point is just them. And I think that's why he's like not even because like they're friends that he just like doesn't like take them down or whatever. I just think that he's like he sees them as just like. More useful as an information thing, and maybe if anything, if they get bigger up on the chain, maybe that's when, if anything, he'd go after them or whatever. But yeah, there's that. James Gordon is in the hospital bed after that whole thing. Last issue, he's very different. I guess him and Martha are frenemies.
Yeah, I would just say friends.
I don't know. The way she was acting towards them made it seem like they hated each other, but at the same time cared for each other. It was really weird because like she was like when she was talking to Barbara and he was answering, she was like, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to her.
I think that was more just like she knows that Jim will try and underplay like any injuries he has, and so she's just more like, I know you're gonna say you're fine, I'm asking your daughter because she'll actually give me a straight answer.
Yeah. No, that could be it too. But yeah, so that was interesting. Him and Martha are friends. I keep thinking it's Jim. They have him as James. I don't know why.
That's just because that's his full name. He just goes by Jim.
No,
Yeah.
no, but it throws me off whenever I'm looking at it and I see James.
Yeah. Jimmy G, we could call him Jimmy G.
I'm not calling him Jimmy G. Do you hear the truck horn?
Yeah, I definitely hear the truck.
Insane loud.
Yeah.
Gosh. Anyway, so yeah, there was that. I mean, I don't remember anything happening to him last issue, but
he probably got like shot during the Mayor Black Mask Gang thing.
Yeah, and that's when they start talking about Bruce a little bit, and that's when we get the flashback to him when Jim found him in the zoo area. He was literally like covered in bats. Like Jim had literally had no idea he was there until he heard the screaming. So that's where he gets the whole fear of bats thing, Batman thing in this universe. He didn't fall in a well or whatever.
The bats lift him up.
Yeah, I have no idea if that's actually canonical in comics.
No, I think Zack Snyder's just doesn't understand any superhero comics, honestly.
It wasn't even Zack Snyder. It was the freaking not Batfleck.
Was that in Nolan?
That was Nolan, yeah.
Really? I thought that was
I
thought that was in BVS.
I mean, it might have been, but I was recalling it from the Nolan ones. And then that's when we see that's when we get the flashback with Selena Kyle and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, let me comment on the Batmobile here. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it definitely fits this Batman's character. I will say that, but it's like you said, it should be. I feel like a little bit more. I don't know, like the motorcycle like that he stole from Alfred.
Yeah,
like that would have like functioned really well, genuinely. But it's now this ginormous dump truck that if he's trying to run away from the police, I don't see him being able to do that unless he.
Where is he? We can't see him. We can't see his big fucking dump truck.
Like literally, unless he destroys like every single cop car and they just physically cannot chase him anymore, I do not see him getting away in this ginormous thing. Like unless he like literally has like
that symbol on the front.
Yeah, like unless he literally has like some sort of like ejector seats that he can just like dump the truck somewhere and just fucking fly away. Like I don't see this happening. But yeah,
also, how the fuck did he get it under that building with no one noticing?
I genuinely think because he's like all of his like yeah, no, that's right, because this building was where the fucking
it was the Black Mask building.
The Black Mask building that blew up. So I really don't fucking know, because he literally barrels through the entire building leaving. So I have no fucking clue. Comics logic there. But yeah, I mean, I'm still enjoying this one for the most part. It's a very different Batman than we are fully used to. So yeah, gonna take some getting used to. But I am interested in this new rogues gallery of his, like friend area. I'm interested in Alfred. He knows he's Bruce and all that stuff. And so we're seeing them gonna start working together in a way. So we're gonna get that back, and yeah, I still genuinely enjoyed this one. It's pretty good. I'm gonna give this honestly a 7.
I don't think it was 1 and 8. Actually, I think this was very solid. Again, outside of we're kind of complaining about a lot of stuff, I do think like the good stuff kind of outweighs that. It's just the bad stuff is more notable, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, I do think this is good. I'm gonna give it an 8.
They did mention Joker as well, by the way.
Yeah, is he Joe Chill? Because they kind of looked like the same guy.
No, Joe Chill is Joe Chill. It's just when they were playing cards, they mentioned the Joker again.
Okay.
I kind of forgot about that. And the first one, remember, we saw also Joker.
Yeah, I just thought because they also do mention that Bruce went to go visit Joe Chill at one point.
Joe Chill is the one that just killed his dad again.
Right, but it did also just like it did look to me like the same character who was Joker from the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. But yeah, 8 for me. I also forgot to mention, by the way, that Helen of Wyndhorn is my pick of the week, so I'm just gonna throw that in here because I don't know where else to throw it.
All right.
Okay, let's see. You know what? Let's stick with Batman, Sebastian. We're doing Batman and Robin.
All right.
This is Batman and Robin number 15, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and the artist is Carmine Di Giandomenico. And actually, no, that's not right. He must have been doing a backup. Or maybe he also had a small role in this one. I don't know. But the main artist is Javier Fernandez. So, yeah. This one, I think, is better than the previous issue. I know Sebastian was not a fan of the previous issue because he thought it kind of undid a lot of Damian's character growth from the previous part of this run.
Undid all of it, not just... It undid all of it.
Here's the thing, though. I I'm curious because I feel like you should like this issue more because he's just kind of doing Robin stuff and is not doing like annoying Damian stuff. So did you like this one more, or are you still like this is bad?
I am still not liking this this arc. I'm gonna be honest. We did get a lot more Robin stuff. We did get that one scene specifically. There was one scene in this one where he tries to save a little girl, but he didn't save her like fast enough, and so she got hurt, and he kind of like panicked and freaked out. I did like that scene because that flowed a bit more into that humane side of his that we have been seeing in the past couple of literally the first entire half of this series.
He was also, we saw him be like, oh, I was mean to her, and he like gets that a bunch of regret from his kind of dickish nature in the last issue. Yeah,
exactly, and it ends pretty well too with them talking, like basically Bruce being like, you should learn about your grandfather, and he's like, I already know everything about race, and he's like, no, your other grandfather, my dad. And so he gives him like a bunch of journals that like his father had written and stuff like that, so he's going to learn about that part of it, and maybe that'll help round out his character as well, because it's like he mentioned, and that's like basically his whole thing is that like he has way too many people in his mind telling him what to do. Like he has his mom, he has Raish, he has Bruce, and he doesn't know who he needs to be, and so maybe him like learning about Thomas will like help round him out a bit there. But I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying the villain, the whole like mystery behind Memento Mori and all that stuff, and we see a flashback to like the original Memento Mori because I guess this one is like a copycat.
Well, that's what they say, but I think it's like a demon of some sort. Like this, for me, it seems like essentially he was like a serial killer in the past and like led to a bunch of big disasters, like the hospital fire. I think initially was caused by him or something. A whole bunch of stuff from kind of the past was caused by this Memento guy. And so Bruce thinks that it's like not possible that it's him, but I think Damian even brings up the possibility like maybe this is the same, maybe it's some demon thing or something. And Bruce is like, don't even think about that. We're detectives. We're not gonna do.
Yeah, because it was about the fact that he was reading a bunch of like the fan sites about Memento Mori, and that's when Bruce was like, don't look too deeply into that. We're detectives.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you kind of covered a bunch of the big stuff. I do think I don't remember. Was there like a cliffhanger here?
No.
Okay. Pretty sure it wasn't. I think for me, like the highlight of this, because I actually really like this. I think this is good. Again, having not read most of Joshua Williamson's run on this book, I do like this. I think Damian is less irritating to me here than he was in the previous issue. And I mean, the art's really cool. I like how moody and atmospheric everything is. Like that cover is maybe my favorite cover of the week. I think it's very cool. But actually, no, my favorite cover of the week is Helen of Wyndhorn as well. Actually, that just kind of sweeps everything for me this week. But I really like at the start seeing Bruce, because Bruce has like 10 seconds to escape this fire in the basement of the hospital where he's kind of stuck while Damian's trying to defend the people upstairs from everybody. And Bruce's like escape from that area I think is really cool. It shows his kind of analytical mind as he's kind of trying to keep his head about him as this catastrophic explosion is building. Like that was a super cool scene. I think the action here I think is very solid. I think when it's focusing on that, it's really cool. And I think Philip Kennedy Johnson has a good handle on. I think both Batman and Robin. I thought Joshua Williamson's run, a lot of it was kind of too goofy. Like it felt like Batman was kind of like much lighter than he often is, and so I think as a result of that also was part of what bounced me off that first run, is that the tone just felt a little bit too light for a Batman book. This feels more in line with his character. Like it's not quite as intense sometimes because it is, also a family book between Bruce and Damian. But I do think like, I think it gets a better handle on Bruce's voice. Again, I can't really speak to Damian because I don't know Damian's character that well. And I did not read, again, most of the last run. So I don't know if it's consistent with that, but I do think this is just a very solid one. I'm happy I jumped back on with this series. So far, I think the villain is cool. We'll see if I stick with this ultimately. Like, it could end up being like a Green Lantern War Journal situation where I do eventually drop it. but I think this issue was pretty cool. And I think it is slightly better than last issue for me as well.
I mean, like I said, I did enjoy this one more than last issue, simply because like we saw a bit more of like Damien's normal side, and we didn't undo every fucking thing. I can't believe it. I just can't understand that. I really don't. Anyway, and yeah, like I find the villain interesting. I find him interesting, but I find him boring at the same time. Like I feel like we're already getting like a detective story from Batman in the main story, so I don't see why we have to like kind of like follow that again, but like this time with Robin and this one. I feel like that's what it's kind of shaping up to be, like just like another detective story. And this one I just find less interesting than the main one right now. So yeah, I'm like really on the fence with this one. I think it's just fine. I liked the beginning part, like you said, with the whole like 10 seconds Bruce thing. That one was really good, and then the whole Robin bit with the small girl and stuff like that. I really liked all that part, but everything else I'm just kind of like, hey, it was all right. So on that sense, I give the last one a 4. Holy shit.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. You did the last one a 4.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna give this one like a 6 probably.
Okay. I'm still gonna give this one an 8. I almost actually thought about giving this a 9, but I think I'm gonna keep it at an 8. I think it's marginally better than the first one, but I am actually genuinely excited to see where this series goes. I think it's shaping up to be pretty good right now.
Anyway, how about Captain America?
Okay. So this is Captain America number 15. It's written by J. Michael Straczynski. The artist is Jesus Saiz. So this is the second to last issue of this run, which is fucking wild. This does not feel like a natural place to conclude this. So I don't know. I said last issue we talked about this that there's 2 issues left. I found this run interesting enough. I may as well just close it out, finish it up. I actually don't think I'm gonna pick up the next issue. It's not that I think this is bad. It's fine, but I just am at the point. I think because I know it's ending now, I'm just so checked out of this series. I'm like it's harder for me to get invested in it when I know that this series is ending next issue. And not only that, but it's ending abruptly. Like, this arc feels like such a weird place to end this run. I feel like they probably just should have ended it with the end of that death fight or whatever, because that felt like a much more natural place to end this story. But no, we got this team up arc. And essentially it's Thor, Cap, and Spidey. They all go to Broxton, Oklahoma, where they're trying to figure out what happened there. They end up using like old versions of Street View to kind of see what the town used to look like. And when they do that, they somehow like manifest Kelda, the Asgardian person Kelda. And she, I think, was like the goddess of like tranquility and love or something. So, and she like fell in love with like a fry cook from Broxton or something. And so they use Street View and they see her walking down the street, and then she like looks at them in the Street View and then like manifests in the real world, but it's like the negative version of her. So she's like black and white, and she looks kind of like Mr. Negative. And so Thor, she kind of attacks them at first, but Thor manages to kind of calm her down. And basically they explain it. So it's like, because we learned about like the restore point last issue. This one is basically like, she made the restore point because she realized that like she had a vision that like some cataclysm was coming to Broxton at some point. And so she made that restore point to preserve, the image of the town that she had, and to preserve this fry cook guy whose name is like Bob or something, or it's Bill. But when she did that, it also like cleaved the town in 2 and saved one version, and the other kept going on. And then it also cleaved her into 2, and then it also cleaved Asgard into 2. And so that's why there's like these dark negative versions of them running around. And so if they managed to like actually use the restore point and get Broxton back to the way that it once was, it would like merge the 2 versions of Asgard and everybody inside Asgard. And so, those versions of the characters, the negative versions of those characters, they feel like that would basically be their deaths, and that they would cease to exist, and it would just be the main version of them that exists. And so that's why they're kind of opposed to it. So basically they get transported to this dark Asgard. Thor causes a distraction, and then Cap and Spidey, they go to try to get to the restore point. And while they're down there, the dark like negative Thor pops up, and they have a bit of a fight while basically Spidey tries to stall him while Cap can like try and find the restore point and get to the restore point. And then they see that the restore point is Bill, and they're like, "What? That's the restore point?" And that's the end of the issue. So it's not bad. I think it's fine. But for me, it's just the fact that I have just kind of gotten no longer invested in this, knowing that there's only one issue left. And I know that like I could be like, yeah, it's one issue, let's finish it out. But when I check out of a book like this, I just don't have any urge to kind of go back to it. And I'm also like, it was kind of confusing. Like a lot of the more like technical side of things and how they're, how the Dark Asgard was formed and stuff like that. It was kind of like overly complex to me. I was just like, oh God. So yeah, to be honest, I'm just kind of not feeling the urge to come back to the next issue. Like I know it's only one more issue, but it's also like, yeah, it's weird. It's just a weird way to end this series. I think this issue is also a little bit slow in parts. I am not that invested in the Dark Asgard story anyway. Some of the banter between the three of them is all right, but I do still feel, and this is the thing I've complained about the entire series, I feel like Cap's voice is still pretty off in this series, and that continues here. So yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. I have constantly wanted to like this run more than I have, but yeah, I just feel like it's just been inconsistent, and I think it's been a just wild, like up and down quality series. So yeah, I don't personally think I'm gonna read the next issue, at least not when it drops. I might go back and read it on Marvel Unlimited in a couple months, but yeah, I'm kind of just not feeling this anymore.
You made a mistake when you called it when you were saying the title of this issue.
What did I say?
You said Captain America number 15.
Yeah, it is Captain America 15. Oh, I see. You're gonna say it's like Thor number whatever or something.
It's Thor number 15.
Yeah.
No, yeah, dude. Honestly, I don't understand how this is. I said this last issue, and I'll say it again. I don't understand how this is a Captain America issue. This is just a team up. They could have literally just made this like a mini series and just ended it, like you said, with the death one last, the last arc or whatever. They could have ended the Captain America one there, and then just made this like a weird team up series, mini series, continuing off of that or something. I don't know. But yeah, because this focuses like. Well, it does, like, obviously focus on Captain America and stuff like that. It's a lot more about Thor and, what the fuck is happening to Broxton and all that stuff. But it's, like, it's very heavily based off of Asgard and all this stuff. And, yeah, I don't know. This one, has some nice banter, honestly, between Spider-Man and Cap and just Spider-Man and the team, honestly. Specifically being, like, because I guess in this one, Spider-Man has never met Thor.
He definitely has.
According to this one, it felt like he hadn't, or he hasn't talked with Thor a lot. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, they probably haven't really had that many legitimate conversations, but they definitely worked together before.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just felt like I don't know. It felt like this Spider-Man has never met anybody else besides Cap and a handful of people. So I don't know. It just felt a bit weird in that sense, but I liked the conversation that him and that Peter and Steve were having about the whole multiverse point thing or whatever. I forgot what the restore points. For the most part, I think it made sense to me.
It's not that it didn't make sense. I just thought it was maybe a little bit overly complex.
I don't know. Multiverse is complex anyway, so.
Yeah, this isn't really a multiverse thing though. It's just she just split the town in two and made two versions of it, and then was like.
Well, yeah, right, because there's the restore point that got saved, but the town continues on, right?
Yeah.
But in order to bring the town back to how it was, she basically, since the town got destroyed, everybody in the restore point will be able to go back to how they were. But since Asgard hasn't been destroyed, if she brings the restore point back, Asgard will be overlapped with the restore point Asgard, and there's a whole mess there.
Right.
So that's why they have to destroy one of the Asgards, and it's be more worth it to destroy Dark Asgard, essentially. And so yeah, there's that. So that it made sense to me. I don't know.
I just think it was more complex than it needed to be. I just don't.
Maybe, but I don't know. So yeah, there's that. They went to Dark Asgard. Yeah, pretty straightforward though. They, Thor made a distraction. They snuck in. Dark Thor showed up. Dark Loki shows up, and I guess the restore point is Bill.
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, yeah, it's Bill.
There's one character that's listed as William Cobb Jr., so I'm assuming that's who that is, and I know they shortened the name, so.
Oh, you're saying Will.
No, I said Bill. Just I think he went by Bill, but
Did he?
yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, yeah. Yeah. So I guess he's the, and I don't know if that's like the real one. I don't know if that's the restore point one
I
or
mean,
what's
Cap
going on
said
there.
like this is oh, you're the restore point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, like I'm saying, like I don't know if he's like the one that was like originally in Broxton and she like saved him before like Broxton got destroyed.
Yeah.
Or no, because he died in Valhalla and shit, didn't he? Yeah. He was an
Well, he
Asgardian.
died in
Died.
Broxton and then went to Valhalla. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she was
Yeah.
able to meet him in Valhalla as well because she died
Yeah.
later. Oh man, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, this is just I'm really liking Spider-Man. I like this banter he has with
Yeah,
everybody.
I think like Strack, if there's one thing he is good at, I think well, he's good at a lot of things. That's not fair, but I think he is genuinely. I think he's good at writing. Peter, he obviously he had a long time, like a long running run on Spider-Man before, so like I think he does definitely understand that character, and I think he gets Thor well enough. It's just Cap that I don't feel like he has a good handle on.
No, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like I really like the Spider-Man in this one. I think Thor honestly is not. I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's not that hard to write about.
Yeah,
You know, but I don't know. I could be wrong there too. Who knows? I'm not a writer.
sounds like you're a writer.
I have written this entire thing the entire time.
Oh, so that's why it's bad.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's a thing, man. Honestly,
Yeah.
I wanted to drop this Cap for so long at this point.
Yeah, I am gonna drop it, and I don't think you're gonna make me read the next issue because it comes out the same week as Namor. So
Yeah, this is a tough decision.
comes out the same week as Namor and also Turtles and also TVA.
This is a very tough decision. No, yeah, dude. Honestly, this is like I might watch it read it, just to see how it all ends with the restore point and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll restore point back to the very first issue of Captain America. If
Back
that's
when
the
the
case,
series was good.
that's gonna get like a 2 in my opinion. That'd be stupid. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, right now I'm just like I'm kind of done with this. Yeah, 6.
I'm also giving it a 6. I love, by the way, how now I've gotten you to somehow gotten you to read both all of Green Lantern War Journal and all of this Captain America series when I just decided to drop it at the very end.
It's
Okay, let's go and talk about what do we want to talk about? Fuck it. Let's do Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
Speaking of series that I'm going to drop, I'm not dropping this yet. I'm going to read one more issue because, to be fair, okay, so this is the second to last issue of the Civil Core arc where we see the big war between the Durlans and Hal and the United Planets and all that stuff. That's a story that I have been genuinely invested in, so I will keep reading that. But after that, I haven't been invested in this series enough to keep going beyond that. And so when it starts the new arc, I'm just going to, again, follow it on DC Universe Infinite like I've kind of been doing with everything else from DC All In. So that's kind of my plan. And, this time it won't be there's more of this series coming. So at least I'm not dropping it with one issue to go, Sebastian. But yeah, this is Green Lantern number 17, written by Jeremy Adams, and the artist is Hermanico. So not a whole lot to say on this, I don't think. Basically, the gist of it is everybody is trying to race back to Oa. The United Planets want to get there to pierce the Source Lantern. Hal and John want to get there to try to get them to not pierce the Source Lantern and also try and evacuate everybody because Mojo is also hurtling behind them about to destroy Oa, because he is now a Rage Lantern. The reason he is doing this is because Tharos, who has the power of the Revenant Queen, and is now alive again, is compelling him to do so. So they're all racing back to Oa. There's also some stuff about there's some weird test they're doing on this kid to try and find the way to control the Source Lantern or something. Also, Ellie, the construct Ellie, is just hanging out with some of the Green Lanterns as well on Oa. So basically, Hal and John get back to Oa, and they're like, we got to evacuate the planet right now because Mojo's coming. And then Sinestro just pops up out of nowhere. He's like, fuck everybody, I'm Sinestro, and I'm a Rage Lantern now. and he absorbs all of the rage energy out of Mojo. So Mojo's back to just being a Green Lantern again. And then, yeah, they're all kind of hanging out. And then it's the Star Shroud, because the Star Shroud is on Oa as well. The Star Shroud goes, pierces the Source Lantern, and then Kyle Rayner is like, I've got to do something. This is my destiny. I'm going to also go and stop him in the Source Lantern. So Kyle throws himself into the Source Lantern, appears to die, but then there's the last page reveal that he's actually alive. It's like, Kyle Rayner lives.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the issue. So again, this is fine. It's decent even. I think this series has been mostly very solid. The main reason I'm actually dropping it for like definitively is because they're doing another Green Lantern book, which will kind of be running parallel to this. And I'm just not interested in that enough to like pick that one up. And I think it will kind of be crossing over with this one. So I'm just going to drop this as well. Again, I'll keep reading it on DC Universe Infinite, because I have generally liked this series. I think it's been pretty solid for its run, and I don't think this issue is bad or anything. I do think like this arc has felt a little bit underwhelming for how big it's supposed to kind of be. Like, we've been building up to this for the entire run so far, and it does feel a little bit just like lackluster, and also like it doesn't hold as much weight as it kind of should. And also, it's only 3 issues. I just 4 if you count the Civil Core special, but that is, I feel like, kind of not enough time to really do this whole concept to its maximum potential. So we'll see. I mean, there's kind of a lot of stuff that has to deal with next issue as well. There's Tharos, there's Star Shroud, and Kyle Rayner in the Source Lantern. There's the thing with Sinestro being back. Like, there's kind of and also, like, here's the other thing. What the fuck happened to Carol and the ship that she was on? That's just, like, they don't go into that at all. So there's still kind of a lot of stuff we have to cover in this last issue. I'm not entirely convinced they can do it in, again, live up to that potential, but it's still solid. I think, the art is great. Obviously, Hermenico's art has been, I think, the highlight of this series, honestly, or at least one of the major highlights. So, yeah, I don't think I have much to say besides that. Again, it's solid, and I have enjoyed this series to this point, but it's at the point where I'm becoming just like, the run feels like it's just kind of becoming this thing that I just kind of have been reading just to read it. Again, I don't think it's bad, but I think I am just kind of at the point where I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like I need to keep going with this. I am going to just kind of end up dropping it after next issue, I think.
There's a lot happening, man, honestly. Yeah. We've kind of forgotten what the fuck happened to Star Sapphire. Just ignored that. We focused purely on Oa. Sinestro showing up out of nowhere.
That was a little bit weird, yeah.
Just literally out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then, there's the whole stuff with the Source Lantern, the Star Heart.
Star Shroud.
No, it's the Star Heart. The weird
Star
magician,
Heart is
weird magician people keep wanting to steal it from Alan Scott.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's true.
There's the Star Shroud,
which
I hate so much. There's Lord Tharos, who's also still in play.
Yeah, and he's possessed by the Revenant Queen.
I guess. We thought the Star Shroud and the Revenant Queen were the same thing. They're not.
No, I knew they were different. I just didn't know which was which.
I don't get it. I still don't understand anything that happened in War Journal. Just the most confusing thing I've ever read in my life. Horrible. To see what else there's.
You're too hard on that series, man. Like,
it is horrible. It's so bad.
It ended poorly, I think, but I think it did for a lot of it was pretty good.
It started horribly. It made no sense.
It didn't start horribly.
I didn't like it.
I put it on my top 10 list of the year last year.
Anyway, what else happened in this one? Kyle Rayner is a White Lantern again. I thought that whole cut with him like diving in, dying, and then instantly being like, he lives.
Yeah, that was dumb. Yeah.
Well, I was like, what the hell is that? Like, that's so clunky right there. Like, what the
That
was so stupid.
It was like a page later. It's like he hits the wall. Hal's like, no, he's dead. And then it's like next time on Green Lantern, all this stuff. And also Kyle Rayner lives. And it's like, what the fuck?
Like, I never thought he died genuinely until like they were like, he died. I was like, the fuck did he do though? Like, I don't like, genuinely, like, oh, I was like, God.
No, don't fly into that, Kyle. And it's like, why not?
Like, I don't understand what the hell big deal was, but okay. A bunch of people that like the people that were like trying to take over the the central core person or whatever fucking died to Mogo. That was pretty freaking funny, honestly. They were just in the ship and they saw Hal flying past, and they're like, shoot him down, and they looked back, and it was just a giant fucking planet barreling at them.
Yeah.
And they just exploded. Dude, this thing is, like, it's just generally all over the place. Like, it's kind of getting hard to follow for me.
It's the Green Lantern War Journal effect, you might say.
It kind of is, honestly. It kind of is. I'm having a hard time trying to follow who the fuck is who. Like, obviously, I know there's Hal, there's Jessica. I think they were.
Who is this Hal person? I don't understand.
Like, okay, so is Jessica Cruz the person they were trying to find?
No, I don't think so.
Does she know where they are? Because they were interrogating the fuck out of her, questioning her about the central. What the fuck is it? The core lantern or whatever.
The Source Lantern.
Source Lantern.
Yeah, I forgot she was in this. I don't think they're specifically looking for her, but I don't know what her deal is right now.
No, I mean, because they had her, and they went...
Right, yeah. The Unseeing people, yeah.
They had her, and they were interrogating her about the Source Lantern. So, like,
right.
Is she the Source Lantern, or does she know where the Source Lantern is?
The Source Lantern is what the Star Shroud and Kyle Rayner flew into.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was literally, like, right above their heads. What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, see, that just lost me even more. I'm not gonna try and think about this. Yeah, dude, this shit is everywhere. It's the War Journal effect. I'm gonna start just losing my mind trying to figure this out, and yeah. So right now, this is a strong 6 for me. Art is pretty decent. You know, Mo goes back to being normal, so they can stop worrying about that. Sinestro is also unconscious. I assume when he comes back, he'll still be a Red Lantern, so
yeah,
that'll be a problem again. Lord Tharos, Revenant Queen, Star Shroud. I still don't understand the difference. And then, yeah, there's the Kyle Rayner bit, which I found incredibly stupid. So, yeah, a lot of this I'm just not enjoying. So, yeah, we're going to, sticking with the 6. I'm
going to give it a 7, I think. I'm not quite as low on this as you are, mostly because I think War Journal is not that bad on the whole. So... yeah, I mean, like, I think, like, there is kind of a lot going on here. I actually think it's balanced fairly well. The stuff with, like, Kyle's death fake out is really dumb. But I think most of this is still fine. I don't really have any issues with it. I just also am, again, trying to make cuts to my pull list. And this series is just not engaging me enough month to month to the point where I feel, like, really compelled to keep going with it. So 7, I think, is sounding good for me.
All right, I'm going to talk about Daredevil number 8 here.
Daredevil number 8. I didn't realize Daredevil was this week.
Deadpool number 8, my bad. Totally misread that one. I saw Bullseye in here, and I was like, that's Daredevil, yep.
Is Bullseye in that issue?
It is a small little cameo page.
Okay.
But yeah, writer Cody Ziegler still. There's another one, actually. Alexis Quazzarano.
Okay, this is not related at all, but I just clicked on the Deadpool issue so I didn't kind of follow along with you. And Google Translate on my browser is asking me to translate this. It's like, it's currently in Portuguese. Would you like to translate it to English? I'm like, no, it's in English. What the fuck are you talking about?
Probably just like a last name they mistook.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, all right. So yeah, we got the artist is Roger Antonio. Yes. So at the end of last issue, we Ellie
Val is back, right?
What?
Val is back, right?
Yes. Yeah. At the end of the last issue, we saw that, and so Ellie and Val have like a small little tussle, but that quickly gets resolved. And then basically Val is just explaining to Ellie, like, so we see a flashback issue of just Wade and Val, just like basically how they spent their days and how they separated essentially as well. So yeah, we get that small flashback, and then we get basically the fact that Ellie explains to Val how what has happened to Wade and stuff like that, and how she's trying to fix it. Val agrees, but kind of reluctantly, because not reluctantly per se, but being like, I'll do it, but kind of a roundabout way of saying it, because Val knows that Boss is hearing, but yeah, he still took it the wrong way or whatever. So he sends these robot people to kill him, and they make short work of them, and then it's revealed that it's MODOK that hired Val to do stuff, and so they run away from MODOK, and it ends with MODOK blowing up the little car that they're in, and supposedly they have died. And then the other part of this is actually a pretty funny part with Taskmaster and Doug, who's their manager person or whatever.
I remember Doug, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Taskmaster is hating the fact that like he has to like basically be in charge of this company right now because like a lot of people are just like just angry calling Taskmaster, being like, "What the fuck? I hired Wade, not this little girl and this giant wolf," and he's like, "I fucking hate this." So yeah, there's that part, and then but yeah, most of it was just the Alien and Val thing, and yeah, this one it's steadily moving along. I'm not hating it. I think it's pretty good. It's just steadily moving along right now. You know, I'm not disliking Ellie as Deadpool. She is very different. She's not nearly, she doesn't break the fourth wall or anything like that. So it's kind of a nice like change of pace from like a Deadpool comic where, we did still get a fourth wall break in the back in the like flashback part. There's like a quick one real quick. He's like Deadpool literally was just like flashback time, and I was like, okay, yep, there it is. But yeah, it's not nearly as annoying. And I think I really like her as a Deadpool. She does a good job, so I'm kind of excited to see how she moves forward with this whole thing. But yeah, I'm quite enjoying this one actually. Oh, and they also made a Pickle Rick reference in this one.
Oh God, yep. Well that should give it a 1 star immediately.
Yeah, Val had some pickles, and Ellie made the joke of like, Are you researching how to turn people into pickles? And I'm like, the Pickle Rick reference right there. Funniest joke in the world right there. Anyway.
This comic is very high IQ.
Very. But yeah. Anyway, I'm enjoying this one. I'm still enjoying the series actually. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna give it a 7, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's all right. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw. They're doing a crossover between this and Miles Morales in February. Miles Morales Spider-Man. So you're gonna have to either read a couple random issues of Miles Morales Spider-Man or stop reading this one probably.
Is that $20.99 or is that Miles Morales? Is that like a new?
That's
suit?
Miles. Yeah, he's got a new suit.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's crossing over into 2 issues, or a couple issues at least, of Miles as well. I think at least 2 issues of Miles.
It looks so similar to like $20.99.
It does. Yeah, it's like a weird vibranium suit I think that Black Panther gave him because he's a vampire or something. I don't really know. I'm not up to date on Miles Morales right now, but that series is really good though, and it's written by the same writer, so it makes a lot of sense they're crossing over.
Good.
Okay, let's see. Let's do Transformers. So, yeah, this is Transformers number 14, written by Daniel Warren Johnson. The artist is Jason Howard. This is the finale of this 2-part mini arc dealing with what's been going on with Starscream before we get back into the main kind of, pushing forward of the plot. I do think this is a little bit weaker than some of the previous issues have been up to this point. I think particularly the last 2 issues of that last arc were really incredible. And so, this part I think is a little bit of a downgrade, but I don't think it's bad by any stretch. We essentially have Starscream has been found by Mars Industries, and his legs are like gone. So they give him like a weird like tank lower half that he just kind of rolls around on. And most of this issue focuses on Starscream just playing the shit out of Mars Industries and like convincing them that he is an ally to them and that he's trying to kind of help them out and that he appreciates, their help and everything. They go and they all find Astro Train, who's, kind of in a bad way as well. And then Astro Train essentially takes them to that part of Cybertron that fell into the ocean. And so they're kind of going around there. And then the Mars Industry guys are essentially like, okay, this is like too much. We're gonna fucking take you down. Like this is you're going off script here. You're not helping us. But Starscream had persuaded some of the other Mars Industries people to remove, because they had placed a bomb in him to prevent him from just killing them all essentially. And Starscream was like, I will let you guys go home if you remove the bomb from me. And so they remove the bomb. That one guy gets like knocked unconscious. The leader of them, I think his name is Horton. He gets knocked unconscious, and then when he wakes up, he tries to blow the bomb, but it doesn't work. And then Starscream just brutally kills all of them. And that is, I think, the best sequence of the issue. Like just seeing Starscream go fucking ham on all these guys, I think was pretty cool. Him playing them throughout the whole rest of the issue was also, it was good enough. I do just think like, again, for me, it's more the fact that I was really enjoying where the main series or the main kind of story was going. And so to kind of get this offshoot, like it's not bad at all, but I do just think like I'm not quite as invested in this right now when the previous arc kind of left things off in a very kind of cliffhanger-y-esque fashion that I really want to get back to that. Last issue was kind of a different thing because we got a lot more of the backstory of Starscream, which I was actually interested to see because I didn't kind of know too much about that. And we get a little bit more of that. We kind of see how Megatron is convincing Starscream to use him in his gun form to just start killing everybody. And we kind of get to see the transformation from this, like, you know, troubled but still fairly friendly Transformer to this, like, cold-blooded killer that is doing the bidding of Megatron. That stuff was good, and I did like that, but the backstory was much less prevalent in this one than it was in the previous one. And I do just feel like the present-day part of the story, aside from the Starscream just going on a murder rampage, was a little bit less interesting. So this is probably my least favorite issue in a couple of issues. I, again, don't think it's bad, but it did just, you know, it wasn't quite as engaging for me as the series has been for the past couple of issues.
Yeah, this one was interesting. Yeah, the whole Mars thing. How do I go about this one? I liked the flashback bit, you know, to see like basically like Megatron convincing Starscream to like commit war crimes, honestly. You know, like, and just seeing like, because like I feel like the Starscream we're so used to is like he does not hesitate anymore. He'll just like kill off whoever. But like it was nice. It was kind of like refreshing to see that like that's not how Starscream always was. He basically got coerced by Megatron to be who he is. Which
it was like, I don't want to kill all these people. He's like, don't make me use you as a gun, Megatron.
Yeah, and so like it could explain, that could also be part of why like Starscream hates Megatron so much, and like why he wants to basically overthrow him and all this stuff. That could be a reason, or just, you know, just because Starscream is Starscream anyway. Yeah, and then there was the whole Mars bit. You know, I thought that was gonna lead into you know, Starscream going to like Cobra Commander and all that stuff, honestly. But no, they just all fucking died except for one, because he was good at drawing, and so Starscream wanted him to draw.
Oh yeah, right.
But everybody else fucking died brutally, honestly.
Yeah,
but
one of them got like run over by Megatron's big. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the main one, and then Clayton got shot, and then Raz just got squished. Yeah, that one for me was like the worst, because then you see her cat just like walk up right next to her, and she's just a bloodied mess on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yep.
But yeah. So Starscream, yeah, he's gathered a bunch of Decepticons that like also don't agree with Soundwave, actually.
Right.
So, but
yeah,
I feel like
so it's gonna be like a Decepticon civil war or something, probably.
Yeah, probably, because I mean, there's Astro Train that hates Megatron, there's Starscream that hates Soundwave and Megatron, and then there's the others that just hate Soundwave. But I think if Megatron came back, they would just go with him, you know. But at the same time, maybe since Starscream like saved them, they'll stick with Starscream. I don't know. We'll see. When Megatron actually shows up. Excited for him to show up eventually, man. God damn. But yeah, right now, yeah, this is just. You know, I was much more interested in the flashback stuff last issue anyway. So this one was a lot less of that and more of what was happening to Starscream in the moment. You know, we did see the Cybertron like piece fall into the ocean again. But yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to like move on with this Transformers series. You know, especially like you said, since it ended on like such a big cliffhanger last issue, or not last issue, but 2 issues ago. So I'm really excited to like get a move on with this one. So yeah, but right now this one, I liked it less than the last one, because like I said, it didn't have as many flashbacks, but I don't think it's still like the worst thing we've gotten from this, you know, universe. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7 though. Yeah.
I'm also gonna give it a 7. Yeah.
All right, moving on here. Let's go to Minor Arcana.
All right. So how many of this did you read? Did you just read number 2?
Right. So made a mistake here. So I read this one this morning. And in my, you know, sleepiness, I had thought that I pushed it back and I read number 2. When I finally finished and was going to go on to read the next one, I had actually just read number 3. I completely skipped number 2.
Okay.
So I went back and just skimmed number 2.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually, so I read number 3.
Okay. So, okay, in that case, we can just both talk about this one. Then it's written and drawn and colored by Jeff Lemire. So, yeah, this is this one slows it down a little bit. I do like last issue was the, you know, kind of the first trip into this mystical like astral realm, you know, the ghost hotel, as Teresa puts it in this issue, where we saw, you know, her meet that one dude who was the husband of the person who was asking Teresa to go and, you know, try and talk to him. that one was kind of where we got kind of a better indication of some of the creepier elements of this series, what some of that otherworld stuff was like. This one is basically an entirely character-focused issue where we have Teresa going to see Melissa, who was her ex from when she used to live in that town. And so she goes to see her. Melissa now has a family of her own. She's got a husband and a kid. And so basically Teresa's like, yo, there's some weird shit going on. Like, I just went to some weird astral plane. And Melissa's like, you're drunk, go home. So I think that conversation is really effective at it gives some context to Teresa's character, I think, which is much needed. We also did a nice scene. Well, nice is maybe a little bit of a strong word, but I think there's a really good scene between Teresa and Melissa's husband as well. And that is also a very interesting one where she's being like, you're like a detective, you're like a sheriff or something. Like, you must see some weird shit yourself. Mm-hmm. And kind of, again, trying to kind of just convince herself that she's not crazy in this weird, like, astral plane thing. Ultimately, she goes to the diner from the first issue, talks to that waitress there who she used to know. And the waitress is ultimately like, hey, like, basically, because Teresa's, again, going through all this stuff about this astral plane and how she, saw this dead woman's husband. And, there's a point where she's like, wait, do you actually believe this? Do you believe me? And the person she's talking to is like, well, do you believe it? And Teresa's like, yeah, I think I actually do. And so this, person she's talking to at the diner convinces Teresa to go and talk to, this one person. I don't remember what her name is, but the person who asked for her, psychic services in the last issue goes and kind of talks to her about, her experience and meeting her husband and everything. And that's kind of the end of the issue. There's a nice cathartic moment where, Teresa gets thanked by the person who, she talked to the husband of. Yep. So it's good. And we also see kind of Teresa get a sense of kind of calm and tranquility after that as well. And being like, it seems like it's the first time she's kind of accepted being back in that town and not just been like pissed off or, frustrated or upset that she had to be there back in that town in the first place. This is the first moment where we've seen her kind of come to terms with that a little bit. And so, yeah, I've liked the first two issues, particularly the last issue. I do think was a stronger showing than the first one. But this one might be my favorite of the three, actually. I do just really like the character-driven nature of this, where we do see Teresa we see more interactions and character depth, and we get kind of more context on her as a person. We kind of had gotten some inklings of that over the past couple of issues, but this is the one where it really kind of comes into focus. And seeing that character development, I think, is super effective here. Of course, I am absolutely engaged in the creepy, like, ghost hotel and this astral plane world thing. Like, that stuff, as a fan of Jeff Lemire's horror work, like, that's a lot of what I've came to this series for. But I do think, like, the character work here is the highlight. It's the strong point of this issue. I mean, it's, of course, kind of the only thing that happens in this issue, so that makes sense. But I think it's genuinely a very strong showcase of Jeff Lemire's character work and his, ability to write strong, nuanced conversations between these people and to make them feel like real people. And I think, this did, whereas last issue sold me on the creepy, like, premise of this world and the conceit of the supernatural stuff of the story, this issue really sold me on the characters, whereas the first one didn't really do that. So I think this was really strong. This is honestly a contender for my pick of the week. I don't think I would say it is, but it's up there. I think this is one of the better things I read this week, and it makes me very excited to see where this series is going. I'm now fully on board with this series.
No, I really like this one. I mean, after I said in the beginning, I skimmed through the second one and actually read this one accidentally. But I mean, I can tell you right now, just like based off of what I had remember off the second one, I was already gonna enjoy this one more, the third one, right, more than the second one. I just liked the way they built her character a bit more in this one, honestly. It was very well written, in my opinion. Just like how she shows up at the door, like all drunk and all this stuff, and just the conversation they had, and it felt like real in a sense, I guess I could say. I don't know. It just felt like more meaningful. Like it didn't feel like just some random stumble that they just wanted to fill the comic with. No, it felt meaningful for this character, and just the way it was just well written and all that stuff. And then I also think that the husband himself was well written in this sense, right? Because he's caring for caring, and then as she's getting out of the car and as she's leaving, that's when he's like, "Don't ever do this again, otherwise, I'll throw you in the drunk tank and all this stuff." So like, I think they just did the characters really well. Same with the waitress that like she like talks to her about all this. Like, I just think they did the characters. He did the characters just insanely well in this issue, and so yeah, that's where I'm like really liking this one. We dropped off a lot of the like mysterious one in this one, but I think it was very well. Just like it was like a kind of nice. It's kind of a nice pacing because not even like the main character believes that like it's truly real yet, and so yeah, I think going forward, this one is just Jeff Lemire is just doing an incredibly well job of just like rounding this all out and not just like throwing it all in our face. So yeah, I think this one was very good. Art style, genuinely, I'm not liking his art style amazingly. It's
growing on me a little bit. I'm getting a little bit more used to it.
I'm like, I don't mind like the background and all that stuff. For me, it's the faces. Like it's so hard for me to tell sometimes because sometimes it feels like he's drawing her like super old, and then other times it's like
I also
kind of back to her like regular face. It's really hard to tell there, but like I don't like hate it like overly to the point where I'm like, this is like disgusting to look at. It's just like I find it like inconsistent in parts.
Yeah.
Very little though, but yeah, I'm just it's I don't know about it. Yeah, I'm mostly here for the story though, so that's really good right now. So yeah, I'd probably give this an 8.
I'm gonna tentatively give this a 9. I thought about giving it an 8, but I think I am gonna just give it that 9. I think the character stuff has made me invested in this book in a way that I was not previously, and so I do really appreciate that it was able to do that. And so I'm gonna give it 9. Okay, let's go to Ultimate X-Men here. Okay, so God, I need to try and remember what even happened here. First of all, written and drawn by Pete Momoko, as per usual. So, okay, basically, there's some weird shit going on, We got weird shit, officially. Lots of people are like, what's up with this, Children of the Atom cult? What's going on? Because now everybody knows they saw that, post that Psylocke did of all of those, like, cut up bodies in the suitcases. So they're like, the Children of the Atom's doing some weird shit. So we have a lot of that. And then we get to see a little bit more of the inner workings of the Children of the Atom. The most interesting part of this, I think, and also the, like, by far the darkest, and maybe one of the darkest moments of the series so far, is when the Shadow King goes and is just kind of walking around and runs across what is, I think that they say is the first mutant in this.
Yeah.
It's Akihiro, otherwise known as Dakin. In 616, he is Logan's Wolverine's son. He's also currently the Helverine, I believe, as well, the Ghost Rider, like, hybrid. So that's big, and he's like torn up. He's like plugged into all these machines, and is like, he's like, his skin looks like it's like stretched. It's pretty gruesome. It's definitely one of the darker moments of this series. So yeah, so that one I think was one of the by far the most impactful moment. It does make me wonder what relationship, if any, he has to like Wolverine in this universe. We know we're going to be getting Ultimate Wolverine in a few months here in January. So I'm curious, like, if he is still Logan's son, or if Logan is his son maybe in this universe, seeing as Akihiro is listed as being the first mutant in this series. So yeah, anyway, that was cool. I think that was very effective. Then we get the kind of big confrontation between Surge and Maystorm, because Surge has essentially been like hanging out with May's dad. And at first I was like, whoa, that's a weird relationship. It's not quite as bad as I thought it was, because Surge does straight up say, like, it's not like we're sleeping with him or anything. But I was still like, this is a weird relationship, obviously. Yeah, so then May just kind of pissed off by this, and they have a big fight. And there's what's the cliffhanger? Because there is some cliffhanger after their fight, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it is.
Oh, that Maystorm was gonna call like the ambulance, right? Because Surge, like, I guess overpowered herself is
okay, yeah.
What I'm kind of thinking. And
yeah,
Surge is basically like, don't do that, just take me to my mom, I think is specifically who she said, because otherwise they'll like I'm assuming the Children of the Atom know.
Yeah. Right.
Like that. But yeah, that was basically the cliffhanger.
Okay. Yeah, so This issue I do think is better than the previous one. It does kind of get back on track a little bit in ways that I do think the last one kind of got off track a little bit. Not much in the way of like armor or anything in this series. It's starting to kind of feel like she may not even be the main character anymore. She very much was at the start, but it seems like May is kind of being set up to be the team leader. And she definitely has much more play in this issue than Hisako does. This issue is just really dark, though. Like, in just overall, even, like, of course the Akihiro stuff is incredibly dark, but even, like, the implications of, like, the weird relationship that Surge and May's dad has, like, it's weird. It's making this book and this world that these characters inhabit, that's not a real word, that these characters inhabit feel like kind of seedy and sketchy now in a way that it kind of didn't before. Again, like a lot of the series has been this like slice of life, kind of dramedy kind of thing where, we have just these characters going about their everyday lives. Of course, like dark moments in there, absolutely. And you have like, of course, like there's the horror side of the dark moments where you have like the Shadow King being creepy. And there's also like the life side of this darker stuff with like, the suicide in the first issue. Or right before the first issue, rather. That stuff, of course, has been present, but it kind of gets ratcheted up in this issue, where this world just kind of feels like way like sketchier than it has in the past couple of issues. And I think that's interesting. And the fight between May and Surge is okay. I don't think that's amazing, but I think is decent enough. And, setting up that conflict between these two characters that, have very kind of electrical-based powers in a lot of ways, I think that, is a matchup that makes a lot of sense. We'll see how this kind of develops going forward. I think like Surge, I'm sure will probably join the team eventually, but I don't know to what degree that's going to be or when that'll happen. But yeah, I do think this is definitely getting to a more interesting place. Again, the series is turning darker. This is probably at this point the darkest series in the Ultimate universe. Maybe Ultimates gives it a run for its money. Ultimates can get dark at times, but I do think like the vibe and the atmosphere of this book is slowly shifting to become like this genuinely like unsettling thing where it's like the world is just, it seems like there's a lot of elements that are kind of wrong about it. And it's kind of that those layers are being peeled back the farther into the series we go. So I think that stuff is cool. I do genuinely, I think that's a really interesting, it's really interesting how the tone of this book is shaping up and shifting in a way that feels quite organic from this more kind of slice of life thing to this much more dark, like sketchy, seedy underbelly that the series is slowly pulling back. So I think this is good. It's not my favorite issue of the series, but I do think it's a solid one and does kind of bring the series back up a little bit, back to a point that I think is more engaging.
No, yeah, this one was very good. And to your point about it being dark and stuff, I think it feels so dark simply because these are just children.
Yeah, right.
Or like anything else we're reading, where it feels like, they're adults, So this one feels...
Yeah, and they're more used to their powers and kind of, they're getting more...
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're not, while Ultimates is like technically dealing with like occult per se, just like the rulers themselves. This one is like specifically a cult that like uses children. It's a bit, it's a lot darker. And it's just like experimenting on children and just like all the briefcase and all this stuff is just is piling on essentially.
And I think also, by the way, part of the reason it feels so dark is because it's juxtaposed against the lighter side of it. So when it switches to that dark stuff, it's like, holy shit, like it kind of comes out of nowhere, and I think it shocks you more because of that.
No, exactly. But it has definitely like not focused on Hisako a whole lot these past couple ones, honestly. Yeah. We're kind of focusing on a bit more of like the overarching, just like everybody, but this one was very heavily focused on Maystorm. There was there was the beginning part with like, I'm gonna call it like the festival. I don't remember the exact name they called it, but it was like a festival they were having at the school. And with after the whole Children of the Atom like briefcase thing came out, that mutants are not well looked upon, even if they're not part of Children of the Atom. So that includes Maystorm and Nico and Hisako. And so, they kind of get bullied and it set Hisako off. And, so that was that. And then, then we kind of cut to the bit more darker stuff with Children of the Atom and Akihiro and the Shadow guy, Shinobu Kageyama dude, who I believe is the Shadow guy. He's
Shadow King is,
And then, then we get to the, like, even darker thing, which was the Maystorm family bit where
Yeah.
I guess she's not on the best terms with her parents.
Right.
She
Living with
eats
her grandparents, yeah.
she at least eats with her grandparents. I don't even think she lives with
Right.
them. I think, did she call her mom or something, or?
No, she went and basically like stood outside of her house for a while and was just kind of looking at it, and then her mom popped out and was like, "Is that you, May?" And then she texted her afterwards, was like, "You could have at least stopped and said hi."
Yeah. And then so there's that, and then she found her dad, like cheating on the mom with a fucking grade schooler. I think.
Yeah.
Are they in middle school?
No, I think they are in high school now because they had that
school?
graduation earlier. But to be fair, I don't know if Surge is in the same year as everybody else there. So
I mean, she seems the same age.
I think so. Yeah.
Just based off the drawings, but obviously we don't know either that. But anyway, it's still high school, underage, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, Surge herself said she wasn't gonna sleep with him or anything. She just
right. It seemed like a weird. It was just like a weird emotional attachment kind of thing, which is still obviously like very creepy and not cool.
It's still very creepy, yes, obviously. But so then they had that little fight. And then I guess Surge doesn't truly I guess if she uses the lightning, calls too much lightning, it kind of harms herself because her hand got either burned or I don't know what really happened there, but she got injured in some way. But I'm still liking this Ultimate X-Men series. It's a lot more I'm kind of glad we're kind of going towards something with this Children of the Atom thing, because the beginning it was the Shadow King, and then we kind of dropped that for Children of the Atom, which I mean they're obviously connected.
Yeah.
But it's just I don't know. It's still I'm still kind of not seeing ultimately where we're gonna end up, but at the same time yes, it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of we're in this weird in between ish. But I'm still liking this one pretty well. So I'm gonna give this an 8.
I am also going to give this an 8. Yeah, I think this is another good step and back kind of on track to doing some more interesting stuff with it. Okay, next up would be the last issue before the X-Men block, and that is the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 61, written by Joe Kelly, with a couple artists credited. The main one, though, I believe is Ed McGuinness, but Nico Henrichon is also credited as well as an artist. So this is the first issue of ASM that we've really kind of been talking about. Of course, there was that Blood Hunt tie-in, which was still part of the main series that we did talk about there. But for the most part, we have not been able to talk about this series before. When we started this podcast, it was right in the middle of the Zeb Wells run, which we both tried to get up to date on, and both of us failed. So this is the start of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, which seemingly is going to be this kind of mini run in between the Zeb Wells run and whatever the next run is going to be. I believe it's about 10 issues of ASM this is going to run through, plus a couple bonus issues that are going to be kind of sprinkled in between. So I was not really looking forward to this, to the point I actually almost kind of didn't even want to read this at all. The main reason I did is because Doom is kind of, he's on the cover, and this is also, it felt like this might be, kind of, again, him coming back a little bit into the Marvel Universe after the end of Blood Hunt, since he is now Sorcerer Supreme, and kind of getting a little bit more of a clue as to where the universe is going, ultimately leading up to One World Under Doom, starting in February. So that is kind of the main reason I picked this up to begin with. I do have to say, I think this is a pretty solid issue. However, this series is on an extremely small leash for me, and I do think I'm probably going to end up dropping it before 8 Deaths is over, because, and I will start reading the next run. I believe that's going to start in March or April of next year. We don't know who that writer is going to be for that yet, but I don't think it's going to be the same creative team. But it's also a big part of this arc is going to be written by Justina Ireland, who, to be fair, I have not read a lot of her stuff. Maybe she's a great writer, but the one thing I have read from her is the Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt miniseries tie-in, which was not good. I mean, that's the series where somebody says it's Morbin time to Morbius, which is just why the fuck? What? God, I'm not gonna get into that right now, though. Basically, the first issue of this arc I don't like. I'm dropping it, especially because I don't think Doom will be that huge of a force in this after this issue. So, basically, though, we start out with just a fun scene of Peter, fighting this new villain. I don't remember his name. It's it's Burnout actually is what it is,
Burnout.
because
Yeah.
there's a big kind of bantery section where Peter is saying like, you need a new name, man. Like Burnout implies that, you know, you're kind of giving up even though you just started being a supervillain. So they're trying to like workshop new names for this new villain as they're fighting. It's pretty funny. So yeah, that was just a good, fun, you know, solid section. And then Doom shows up and is like, "What's up, Spider-Man? I need you to help me with something." And gives kind of this history of basically the scions of Sidorak, I believe is what their official name is. Sidorak being one of the kind of, you know, godlike beings in the Marvel Universe. Obviously, of course, like with Doctor Strange, a spell that is very often used is the Crimson Bands of Sidorak, or Sidorak. I never know actually how to pronounce that. But also, like, Juggernaut is also, you know, he got his powers from Sidorak as well. So kind of one of the big magical forces in the Marvel Universe. And essentially, like, every so often, Sidorak will send the scions of Sidorak to come to Earth and, like, fight the Earth's champion. Previously, that has been Doctor Strange. It's something like it's part of some weird agreement with Strange that Sidorak made. So you know, every few years these guys will show up and fight Doctor Strange. But obviously, Strange is no longer the Sorcerer Supreme, so he's no longer kind of considered the champion of Earth. Doom kind of nominates Spider-Man as that champion to go and fight these guys. So Peter initially is like, "Fuck off! No way am I working for you! Like, absolutely not." But then he just kind of ends up fighting one of them anyway. And, you know, just kind of runs across them. And, you know, initially this guy, I don't remember his name. Sintros is what his name is. He's like, "What are you doing here? You're not the champion of Earth." And then Pete is getting, like, beaten the fuck up. And then Strange is like, or not Strange, Doom is like, "Do you accept my help now?" And Peter's like, "Fine, yeah, I accept it." And then he gets given this new magical suit, which I don't love. I'm not a huge fan of the design of this suit, but that's fine. So... yeah, so then Peter kind of fights, you know, Sintros for a while, and ultimately also Doom gives Peter, I believe it's called the Reeds of Ragador, which is, that's what basically Peter is going to be using to be able to die and come back to life. Because again, this is the 8 deaths of Spider-Man. Spider-Man's going to be dying presumably quite a lot, maybe even in every issue, every time he fights one of these guys. And so these reeds are what bring him back after he's dead. So he kind of like throws himself into the mouth of Sintros and plugs this like black hole thing that is there with magic. It kills Peter in the process, but then he gets revived by one of the reeds. It's also, we did a cameo of Phil Coulson acting as Death in this. So they're really like, that Infinity Watch stuff is not going away anytime soon, it seems like. But so yeah, that's kind of the end of the issue is Peter wakes back up and is like, shit, I might have to die a lot more. So I do think like this is better than I was expecting it to be. I have not read much stuff from Joe Kelly. The main thing that I know that I've read from him is a 2-issue mini arc he did earlier in the Zeb Wells run, which I thought was terrible. So I was not super excited for this, but I do think like it did pleasantly surprise me. It's pretty wordy, but I think it flows well enough that it doesn't really feel like it. I think Peter's banter is pretty good here. Also, like, I'm a huge fan of Ed McGuinness's Spider-Man art. I think it's always amazing. I'm always super happy to see him on a Spider-Man book. And this is no exception. There's some really good art in this, I think. So I think a couple things. First of all, it was running through my head while I was reading this, the comparisons to that Catwoman arc that we started like last year, where she had like 9 lives, Selena had like 9 lives, and you know was kind of running through those. Sebastian and I read a couple of those, and they were not very good. This is definitely a better version of that, but I think the similarities are pretty evident, and I do worry, like, Peter dying every issue is too much. It's just going to get so repetitive. I mean, maybe it won't. Maybe it'll flow really well. Maybe it'll be great, but I just don't see how that doesn't get repetitive after, like, the 3rd time it happens. And also, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the suit. And the other big thing is I think this is not really a huge issue now, but I don't know. I don't really have a reason, I feel, to care about the Scions of Sidorak. They're just kind of big monster, like, demon things. Not much personality. It just kind of seems like a big line of just like random like video game bosses for Spider-Man to fight. And that's fine here. You know, it's the first one, that's fine, but I don't really see any reason to be invested in Peter fighting these beings over the long run. And then, as I mentioned, like Justina Ireland writing a bunch of this, I hope they're good. I don't see myself liking those issues, and I do think like once that happens, I am going to drop this. Because again, a big part of why I'm reading this is for Doom's involvement. And I kind of think that Doom is not going to be very involved in this arc after this point. I think this is kind of his biggest play in this series. So, and also like this book, by the way, between the main issues and the weird like offshoot issues, because like in between main issues, they're going to be doing these other issues, not in between every main issue, but for a fair amount of them. They're going to be doing, so like in between 64 and 65, for instance, we're going to be doing an issue called Amazing Spider-Man 64 Point Death. And it's like this offshoot issue something or other, I guess. And so that means we're going to have like 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 issues of Spider-Man a month. And that's too fucking many. I'm sorry. Like it just is. So if the quality does not stay pretty high, I will be dropping this immediately and just wait till the next like official start of the new run to jump back on. But yeah, as far as this goes, I was pleasantly surprised. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I had fun reading this. It's not like amazing. It's definitely not a highlight of the things I read this week, but I think it was pretty solid. So tentatively, I am kind of looking forward to where this is going. But at the same time, again, I think there's some structural issues that could weigh this down. And I think the inconsistency in the writers, I think, will also weigh this down. And if that happens, I'm done. So I hope it's good, but I'm not. I do still have some concern about where this will go.
I'm gonna be honest. I can already see you dropping this. I don't know why you're gonna continue reading it.
Because like I feel like I should be reading ASM, and I did like this issue. But again, if it gets to the point where and I hope it's good. Like genuinely, I would love to be reading this and being like, this is amazing because it's amazing Spider-Man. But again, if one issue and I'm gonna drop it. So yeah.
No, yeah, I will say it is good to read Spider-Man again. It is refreshing, man. This is.
I mean, we've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man all year.
Yeah, no, I get that, but like, main 616 Spider-Man, dude.
Yeah.
Feels nice to read it again. I absolutely loved this. This was great. You know, I liked the banter with Peter and Burnout. I liked him just being like quippy and stuff. It was great. And then you know, him standing up for himself against Doom as well. Even he was like surprised by that. He was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it just did that." Him just letting everybody down. Classic Spider-Man stuff. You know, classic Peter just fucking ruining his own life to be Spider-Man. But yeah, no, I really like this one. You know, the fight between him and the main the dude or whatever.
Sintros.
You know, there was that. You know, the fight was like, it was all right, honestly. You know, Spider-Man was like really had no idea what to do because he was like basically this Sintros guy has like literally the power to manipulate gravity, and so he was literally like, how the fuck do I do this? So yeah, that's when Doom came in again, and just you know. But just the ending for me was what really got me there. You know, when you know the fact when he came back to life, like you know because he like cheated death or whatever. Like there's something that like it does like the reads have to like do to you or something like that. I don't remember how he explained it, but essentially, this one was like just insane pain when like it brought him back to life, and you know that's like part of why Doom said he'd like chosen him because he knows pain and he like can like he knows how to deal with it and all this stuff. And you know, he talked to Doctor like the like weird like soul version of Doctor Strange, and you know, he was like, you know, I'm sorry that this is how it's become or something like that. I don't remember the exact conversation, but yeah, he's basically you're just like the best person for this job, and even Doom knows it, and even Doom was like, I don't usually associate with you because you're just like meaningless to me, but I recognize these values in you, and so you're the best man for this job. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? This is pretty good, honestly, and I liked it. Yeah. I'm gonna give it a 9.
Wow, okay. I'm gonna give it an 8. I do think to your point about like him coming back and all that, I think it seems like to me what it does is reverses death. And it's kind of difficult to explain this, but like reverses the process of how Peter died, right? So yeah, he died in this basically by being sucked into a black hole, which is a kind of death that spaghettification, right? Yeah. And so he kind of didn't really feel that too much in the actual death process, but then when he was resurrected, the spaghettification reversed. So we got like unspaghettified, which was just like this excruciating process. And that seems like maybe that's kind of how it's going to go. And so he kind of feels the death process twice just one when he's coming back to life and one when he's dying. So that kind of seems like that's what it's doing. But yeah, I did like this. I'm giving it an 8. Again, I hope it is going to be good. But the inconsistency of writers is concerning me, and there is some structural stuff that we'll see if it ends up sticking as solid as it is. Okay, X-Men time. We're starting with NYX. This is NYX number 5, written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, and the artist is Francesco Mortarino back on the book. So, this is kind of the Sophie Cuckoo-centric issue, although it is actually much more team-based than I think a lot of the other ones have kind of been. So basically, plot-wise, we've got everybody hates mutants now, again, in New York City, because of the events of the last issue. There's kind of a lot of fallout about that. And basically, the plan of this new Quiet Council of Hellion and Empath and the Cuckoos and all those guys is to try to get mutants banned from New York City. Their plan is to mind control enough people in the United Nations, or I think it's the United Nations that's doing the vote on this. Maybe it's not though, or Congress or whatever. They're going to mind control enough of them to get this bill to basically, exile all mutants from New York City. And the hope is that then mutants will kind of rise up and it'll be this kind of civil war between humans and mutants. And then that'll end up leading to the mutants winning and then just taking the island of Manhattan as their new Krakoa. So basically though, the way that NYX, the group, combats this. Sophie, first of all, comes back to the group and is like, hey, sorry for, joining with the Quiet Council and everything. And then so basically Kamala and everybody else, they kind of organize this big protest. They gather all these mutant allies and organize this big protest to counter the anti-mutant protest that is also happening. Kamala gives this rousing, motivational speech. And Sophie is able to break the mind control of everybody who is being mind controlled in Congress. And so the bill ends up not passing, and mutants are able to stay on in New York for now and everything, and it kind of seems like it's foiled the Quiet Council's plans. And that is the end of the issue. Honestly, this kind of feels like it should be the last issue of the series. I don't say that because I think the series is bad. It does, but it does kind of feel like a kind of conclusion for what this series was trying to do. We have more issues of it. Obviously, there's a couple more that we have announced. Next issue is the kind of bringing back in the Mojo side of the plot, rather. So, we're going to see the whole team kind of go up against him. And I think, that's interesting enough. I am genuinely kind of, cautiously optimistic about where the series could be going. I think this is quite a bit better than the last issue. Part of that is because I like the art more than the last issue's fill-in artist, but I do just think the story was kind of focusing more on the parts of this series that I do tend to like a little bit more. I have enjoyed the musings on the mutant community within the New York community and how those things kind of merge and how the mutants are building their own space inside New York again. That has been the part of this issue that I have of this series that I've kind of enjoyed the most, and I do think that this issue is a good representation of that. It's probably not my favorite issue of the series. I still think issue number 3 was solid, was more solid for me, but. Yeah, I also kind of wish we had maybe gotten a little bit more focus on Sophie in this issue, seeing as she kind of hasn't had the single issue spotlight. Granted, Prodigy last issue kind of didn't have quite as much page time as I thought it was going to either. But I would have liked to maybe see a little bit more of her and her motivations and, why she kind of went along with joining. I get that, all of her sisters, they're the 5 in 1, and they kind of made that decision together, and she kind of got outvoted. But, I don't know. I still would have liked to see her kind of reaction and kind of emotional state and kind of how she's feeling about all of that whole situation, which we did not really see. So I don't know. Solid, I think. I think this is a step in the right direction from last issue. This series is still not my favorite, certainly, but I think it's fine. I think it's not bad. And yeah, I hope it gets more interesting. I know we've got Sync coming up in a future issue as well, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, it also just, again, does feel like it has this note of finality and conclusion to it that almost makes me think this was initially supposed to be a miniseries that then just got turned into an ongoing. So yeah, not entirely sure as to where this is kind of going now, but I'm still gonna keep reading it. So yeah, hopefully it's stays solid enough.
No, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed those for what it was. I am excited that we're going to be, it seems like next issue we're going to be going back to the Mojo bit, because I really liked that one in the second issue of this series. And it felt like we got introduced to it and then instantly dropped it and just reverted back to what it was the first issue. So I don't know really why we introduced it in the second issue in the first place, honestly, because I feel like Mojo really had nothing to do with this whole first arc at all. Besides, leading Laura into just joining the team in general. So I don't know, maybe that was just like world building for her part, but whatever. Favorite character in this one is Dupe. He's look at him, looking green bean little fella.
Dupe. I don't know who that is.
I have no idea who it is. He's listed as a cameo.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, focus a bit more like supposedly like Sophie Cuckoo, centric, but like at the same time like team centric, just like the aftermath of what happened last issue with Rowan and Prodigy. How basically his life is now falling apart, and mutants as well has like kind of just like new hatred, but they pull it back last minute with a little bit of help from Sophie, just like releasing the mind control of like basically that everybody was mind controlled in that whole vote and just in the protest as well in general. How they just like took it, which amazingly they turned it back in like 24 hours, I think is what they said. Like that's how long they had to vote. So that's insane to me that they like were able to gather so much and just do so much in that little amount of time. But yeah, I mean, I think this was pretty good. Kamala Khan and Sophie are like the I would say the two main focuses of this one specifically. A bit of sad back stuff from Prodigy and the aftermath of that, but overall, Sophie and Kamala centric issue. How she, can inspire like both worlds essentially, like being inhuman and then also a mutant at the same time. She's like connected to both worlds. So she, like perfect poster girl for that whole thing. And so yeah, I think this one, I think it was like a good wrap up, kind of like. It's like you said, like this one felt more like a miniseries than anything, and then it just like turned into like an ongoing, So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But right now, yeah, I'm fine with this. Honestly, I think it did get solved a bit too quickly for my liking. They basically just like left everybody that like was trying to do harm except for the Krakoan just like essentially go. Like they kind of didn't really mention them after the fact. So there was that. I'm not too like chuffed about, but they were kind of made mutants a little bit more likable in New York specifically. So I don't know. They solved one problem. But yeah, I think this one was all right. I'd give this probably I'd give this a 7.
I'm also gonna give it a 7. I think it's solid enough. I thought about giving it an 8, but I don't think it's quite on that level. And yeah, next issue they're going to a Dazzler concert, so we'll see if it's a crossover with the Dazzler series, which is really great. Everybody loves the Dazzler series. Anyway, okay, moving on. We're going to talk about the newest addition to the X-Men from the Ashes lineup. It is Psylocke #1, written by Alyssa Wong, and the artist is Vincenzo Torratu. Yeah, I going into this one was kind of, I don't know, I had mixed feelings about it because Alyssa Wong is a writer who I kind of go back and forth on. I think they have written some like legitimately, genuinely good stuff that I liked. They wrote the previous run of Deadpool, which I think was pretty fun on the whole. I think it was a solid one. I think they also were the writers of the most recent Captain Marvel run, which I did not read any of that, but I hear that was okay, I think. So I kind of go back and forth. I typically think Alyssa Wong's writing is either pretty solid or just kind of fine. And so I wasn't sure which camp this would kind of fall into, but I think this is a pretty solid one. I genuinely do think it's pretty good. It starts off basically, Psylocke does this mission to rescue this kidnapped kid, and it's cool. It's good action. I think pretty solid action sequence. We get to see Psylocke just doing her like ninja shit. Which I think is cool. And yeah, I think that worked quite well. And then she gets basically benched from the X-Men because she's Scott says she seems kind of too distracted and like she needs just a vacation and some time off.
Basically, just like overworked.
Right. So he kind of puts her on mandatory vacation leave for like 2-3 weeks. And then, so Psylocke ends up going on this other mission to infiltrate this party that is, they've created this new version of mutant growth hormone that's supposedly much more potent and gives you powers for a much longer amount of time. So she goes there, and turns out that they are like selling mutant kids as part of I don't know if it's like just to like they want to make money off of that or whatever, or if it's for like the purposes of like processing more mutant growth hormone or something. I'm not entirely sure on that, but regardless, Psylocke basically just is like, yeah, that is fucking awful, obviously, and goes in and just starts killing everybody in that party as well, and that's kind of it, really. So yeah, I think it's solid. I think immediately what I like about this, couple things. The action feels cool. I think it's cool. I think it's pretty dark as well, which I think works for a Psylocke book. Like, Psylocke has a pretty fucked up backstory, so I think that does work to the series' advantage. I also think, like, Psylocke as a character is nailed down pretty well here. I think the musings, her philosophical musings about, like, how she was trained to be a weapon and trained just basically to be a tool of violence, but that's not what she wants to do. I think that all worked. And then to contrast that with the end, where she's, murdering all of these people at this, again, rich people, mutant growth hormone party thing. She's, killing everybody there. And she's saying, like, I don't feel anything. Like, I know I should feel, like, disgusted and horrified that I'm killing all these people, but I don't feel a goddamn thing. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. One of the people she's fighting there takes, like, 5 patches of mutant growth hormone at once. And turns into, like, this big, like, monster guy, and so she fights that guy as well. So I think all that works. The action's good. I think the character of Psylocke is solid here. I am curious to see if this is going to kind of have any, real connections to the X-Men series. I kind of doubt it will, but if she's only off for like 2-3 weeks, I kind of don't know how they can kind of just avoid that. I also do wonder if she's going to kind of be benched from the X-Men in the main X-Men book as well. Probably not for long. I kind of doubt that's going to be the case. But yeah, so I think, like, again, solid start. It's not amazing, I don't think. It's not like, I don't immediately think, like, this is the best thing that From the Ashes has done. But I think it is a solid story, a solid first issue to this solo series. And I think there is a lot of potential here. I think the darker undertones of the series work, and I think the action's good. I think Psylocke as a character is nailed down well here. So yeah, pretty solid. I definitely did not mind this one.
No, I mean, yeah, like you said, I think this one was also solid. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's kind of nice to see, a bit more. I mean, I know very little about Psylocke specifically.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to see a bit more, like, backstory in that sense. I know she was like a ninja and stuff like that. I knew she was like raised by the hand and all that stuff. Like, that part I knew about. But like,
she also for a long time, Betsy Braddock, who's the current Captain Britain, was like inhabiting her body as well. So yeah,
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But yeah, I was kind of, I'm excited to read this new Psylocke series going forward. I thought this one was pretty good for what it was. He's trying to, like, change your character, like, most, like, kind of feels like a bit like a Robin type of situation, right? Like, she's got it a bit more under control in that sense, but, like, she's still trying to, like, figure, like, lower
Which Robin are we talking about?
Damien. I'm specifically talking about Damien. Yeah, the current Robin. I guess there's, like, 3 current Robins. I don't know. What are the?
Yeah, I don't know where Tim Drake is right now, but he's also a Robin.
He's Robin technically. Yeah,
although
fair.
I think he might still be Red Robin.
That would I have no idea.
He went by Red Robin for a while. Obviously, like, Jason's Red Hood and Dick is Nightwing now, but
yeah, exactly. It's just the Tim Drake one. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I was specifically talking about Damian Wayne, like how he is also, like, trained by, like, murderous ninjas or whatever. So he's, like, also trying to, like, kind of figure out, but, like, obviously she has that a bit more under control with the fact that, like, she knows she doesn't want to kill, but her thing is, like, the fact that, like, when she does kill, she does not mind it. Like, it doesn't bother her, and she thinks that's the problem, And, I mean, she, for me, like, did not have a lot of choice when she killed Skullbuster, assuming she actually did kill him, and he's not just, like, insanely wounded.
Legion Comic Geeks does say death of Skullbuster, so...
All right, so yes, he is dead. I mean, not a lot of choice there. They, maybe if she weren't alone, it would have been turned out differently, but it's not like, she, like, went out of her way to, like, abandon the X-Men and stuff like that. And
actually, she was pushing back. She was like, "Don't take me off the X-Men. Like, I'm needed here." Yeah,
exactly. Obviously, but it's I don't know. I think this is pretty good. I think the action is also very well done. Like, it's very clearly noted, like, how she moves and, like, the ninja, like, her ninja format or whatever. I think, just overall, I think this is pretty good. I think this is well written. I think, going forward, we're going to see some good stuff from this series. And just seeing her character develop over time, and hopefully that character development will stay in the actual X-Men series as well. So,
I don't know if it will. That's more, though, because I don't know if we really see enough of Psylocke in that X-Men series to really explore that depth, to be fair.
No, yeah, exactly, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, maybe, because I'm assuming is this Is this an ongoing or is this a?
This is an ongoing, as far as I'm aware. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then we
Yeah.
probably won't be seeing this in X-Men. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I don't know. I like Psylocke as a character, so I'm excited to read like a solo series with her. Honestly.
Yep.
So hopefully it stays good. So I don't have
Yeah.
to drop it. But yeah, right now I'm gonna give this an 8.
I'm gonna give it a 7. I thought about giving it an 8. I don't know. I think like for whatever reason, I just didn't immediately get super hooked into it. But it was solid. I think the art's good. I think it's a very decent first issue. So yeah. Last issue of the episode is Uncanny X-Men issue number 5, the conclusion of the first arc of Uncanny X-Men, written by Gail Simone, and the artist is David Marquez. So I was like ridiculously excited for this issue. I don't think this is as good as the previous issue or as issue number 1. I think it's still pretty solid, but it does, I think, one thing in particular feels like kind of a Deus Ex Machina, where I was just like, really now? So basically it's split up between 2 parts here. We have the base under siege, like the X-Men's house is being raided by this big army that Sarah Gaunt, the Hag, has sent. On that side we got Gambit, we got Jubilee, we got Nightcrawler, and we got Wolverine kind of defending, along with the new kids, the Outliers, trying to defend that house from all those people. They kind of, they are holding their ground, but they are still kind of, you can tell they're on the back foot. So ultimately, how they win that is Gambit uses the Eye of Agamotto he got from that dragon in issue number 1, and just kind of is able to wipe them all out like that. Then we have the Rogue and Hag finale of that fight. And so, okay, I think it starts out well. Rogue basically dies. Like, she's on the verge of death.
Yeah.
And she goes into this like limbo space in between death, where we see, I believe his name is Harvey. Okay. The mutant kid who died in the first issue, he is also there, and he's kind of like managed to just kind of stay just before the point of death, so that he's able to end up helping Rogue in this situation. Just basically, we get the reveal that in that first issue, actually, you were right, Sebastian, because I know we thought about this in that first issue. He did actually like touch Rogue's hand, and it was intentionally to get her to absorb his powers for this moment, because he has like telepathy, I guess, and so it was to help Rogue kind of get this power up for this moment, and so he could help her through that. Now that's fine, I don't mind that. The problem I have with it is that they're just also like, and by the way, I've also got a healing factor, so you're just healed now. And I was like, really? Like, that's a little bit. There was no indication of that in the first issue. Like, this is the first we've kind of heard of it. Obviously, we knew he had powers in that first issue, but in this instance, I was like, that kind of feels out of nowhere. It just feels like kind of a way to get Rogue back to where she needs to be, and it doesn't feel like a supernatural way to do it. To just be like, hey, I got a healing factor, now you do too, Rogue. Like, that to me was the kind of Ex Machina-esque kind of thing where I was like, this feels like a bit of a kind of not great way to resolve that. But anyway, she gets back up, she beats the shit out of the Hag, and Harvey actually dies for good this time, and then Rogue drops off the Hag at Grey Mulligan essentially, and is like, we're gonna fuck you up if you guys like let her go or do anything. Like, we're coming for you. We're gonna fucking kill you guys. Mm-hmm. So that's the end of the issue. I think, listen, I do still like this, but there is a lot of stuff in this issue that I think kind of leads to this one falling apart a little bit more than the last one. I don't mind the stuff at the house. I think that stuff all works fine enough. I love like the kind of interactions between Logan and the rest of the team, where he's like, yeah, man, I got your guys' sense, so don't worry about it too much, but maybe like sound off every once in a while just to make sure I don't get into a bloodlust rage and kill you all by accident as well. That stuff was fun. I do wish we had gotten a little bit more like cool action character moments from the rest of them, because we don't really get many. Like, Nightcrawler doesn't do a whole lot, and neither does Jubilee. Like, Jubilee, at least we do get some narration from her in this issue, so she does feel like she has a more substantial part in this, as opposed to, most of the rest of the series at this point. But Kurt still doesn't have much to do in this, and even Jubilee herself, I feel like she doesn't get much action beats or anything. And I feel like Jubilee has kind of been the odd character out in this run so far, whereas everybody else in this run to this point, I think the character moments have really landed, but I don't think we've gotten a really good Jubilee character moment in this that has made me like really be like, yes, that fucking rolled. I don't have much attachment to Jubilee. I have not read much stuff with her in it. I don't know kind of much about her character. And so I do kind of feel a little bit more detached from her as opposed to the rest of the team. However, I didn't really have much attachment to Rogue and Gambit before this series, and this series has made me feel very attached to them. So I know that Gail Simone has the capability to do that for me with characters. I don't feel like Jubilee's there yet, though. I just don't feel like we've gotten a unique enough character moment from her that has really sold me on her character being in this. I think like her voice is not as unique. And part of that is because of course, like, you know, Rogue and Gambit have their accents, which are very unique and make it very clear. Like it helps their voice overall as characters to have that accent, as it does give them kind of a defining, unique trait to their characteristics and their personality and everything. Jubilee doesn't have that, so I think that's part of it. But I also just think like there's not a defining character trait that I've seen pop out of her in this series like I have with Rogue and Gambit. But as far as like Gambit using the Eye of Agamotto to kill all the zombie things and everything, I'm fine with that because it was set up very early in the series, right? That was set up in issue number 1, so I think that works fine. I do wish again we'd gotten some like more cool Gambit action, but that's not the end of the world. As far as the Rogue stuff goes, again, I do have a real problem with some of that conversation with Harvey. I also think the fact that he's back kind of negates the emotional impact his death had in the first issue, which I really, really liked. This issue, like, they have him die for good, and Rogue gets sad about it again, but it's like, the impact is just not there this time, because it's already happened, we've seen it happen before, so I just feel like it kind of lessens the impact of the first one, without really doing much to add impact to this issue, and then that healing factor thing just kind of felt out of nowhere for me. The fight with the Hat was fine. I did enjoy seeing, you know, Rogue just beat the shit out of her, and I liked I really liked the ending, where Rogue was threatening Dr. Ellis at Grey Mulligan. I thought that was great. And there is stuff, like, to be fair, great character moment with Rogue, I feel, in this issue, where we find out that she has been taking, like, diction lessons to kind of try and remove her accent. And, you know, Logan ultimately is like, you don't need to do that, man. Like, you're great as you are. But I liked that character moment a lot, because it does show, I think, another angle of how Rogue is processing grief. In my opinion, from the kind of Krakoan era, how I interpreted this is that she felt like she wasn't good enough, because she didn't, you know, do enough or whatever to save Krakoa. I think she does feel like part of Krakoa's fall is kind of on her. And so I think one of her ways of, you know, kind of trying to cope and feel like she, you know, her coping with her feeling that she's not good enough is this diction lesson to try and, like, quote unquote, like, fix part of herself that she kind of thinks is broken or whatever. That, I think, was great. Like, genuinely great character moment. I loved that. That's the kind of stuff that I have been really enjoying in this series. The rest of it, I do think was a bit of a step down. So I still like this issue. I think it's good. This is still my favorite X-Men series currently running, but it was a bit of a step down from last issue and the first issue in particular. So I did end up feeling still a slight bit disappointed by this as the conclusion of the first arc. But yeah, I'm hoping this can kind of get back up to the level of quality that I have been, you know, really, really loving the series for in the future issues, and kind of get back on that track. So yeah.
This one, I like this one. It was good. I like the whole, well, I didn't truly like the fact that Harvey came back and talked to Rogue, right? Because it did take away a bit from that whole, you know, sadness from that whole bit, like the fact that, like, you know, Harvey died, Rogue, like that whole, like, just like that whole, like, emotional part of that one.
Yeah.
You know, and it felt like, you know, this one, you know, they brought him back for, like, that true closure, so he could be, like, a true leader, you know, and lead the group and all this stuff. I did like the fact that it was, like, a little bit open-ended, and to see, like, her still hurting from this the entire time. And I was hoping that, like, her teaching the, like, the new kid, the outliers, like, you know, maybe that's where, like, that hole would, like, begin to close. So, you know, I'm a bit sad about that. I didn't wholly dislike, you know, the whole conversation between that Rogue had with Harvey and all that stuff. You know, like, it was like whatever. I was kind of hoping they, like, went about it a little bit differently. Other than that, though, I really enjoyed this issue. You know, the fight in the wherever that house they're at, you know, ultimately, like, wasn't too big of a deal. You know, you didn't really see too much of the actual fighting really going on. You know, you saw, like, you didn't really see a lot of Gambit, honestly. You saw a bit of Jubilee, you saw Nightcrawler, you saw Wolverine, you saw a couple of the Outliers doing their thing, but ultimately, you know, like, they were all getting, like, the Outliers were getting, like, obviously inexperienced, like, kids. They were just getting overpowered, and so yeah, Gambit had to do that whole Agamotto thing. I thought something bigger was gonna happen there, because he made it seem like he was gonna, like, fucking die by using it, but, like, literally it didn't seem like anything happened to him specifically. So I don't know, maybe something will just come back later on and we'll, like, learn about it, but right now it seems like he's just fine. And then yeah, the fight with Rogue and Hag, ultimately I enjoyed it. I think it was very good, You know, like, yes, the whole bit with Harvey being like, yeah, I just have a small healing factor. So your arm, yeah, you're fine. You know, I think it would have been better if like her arm was still like fucked, but like him being like, you know, I can help you with the hag, you know, like him still helping her with the hag. That would have been better because then she would have come back like absolutely just like destroyed back to the barn and stuff like that. And so it would have been a lot more serious in that sense. But I don't know. I think they just could have gone about that a bit differently with Harvey, honestly. But yeah, ultimately, I enjoy this one. I think this for me has been like my favorite Uncanny X-Men book, honestly, so far.
Interesting. You gave last issue a 10, so I'm assuming then you'll give this one a 10 as well.
Well, then maybe not.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Why did I give the last one a 10? I don't even remember like I remember liking it, but not that much. Jesus. All right,
give
well,
it 10.
no, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not my favorite one of this one then, but easily second favorite then. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think the outliers themselves too, like Deathstream, like made a fucking funny joke, man. He was just like, yeah, we're like it was just something about death, and he's just like, yeah, I'm already dead inside. I'm like, oh Jesus, man. It just made me chuckle a bit. I was like, ah, man, I kind of like you now.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I don't know. I like the art style too with Rogue and the Hag. I was liking this one a lot.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think they could have done the Harvey bit a bit differently, and that's like really my like biggest complaint about this this issue specifically. But yeah, I enjoy this one. I'm gonna give it a 9. I'm not gonna give it a 10.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I actually almost thought about giving it a 7. I do think again, there's too much kind of stuff in this that I think is iffy that I couldn't really give it any higher than an 8. But I do think there's definitely still stuff in this issue that, you know, is the stuff that I have been loving about this series so much to this point. You know, those character moments, there are still enough of them here that I do really, you know, still appreciate this book overall. And so, yeah, I of course am still, you know, very excited to see where this book goes. I am actually questioning because we're getting a Rogue solo series in like 2 months. I don't feel like we need one, honestly, because this is kind of like, yeah, it's a team book, but Rogue is by far the heart of this series. She is the central member, absolutely. And I think, like, to be honest, Rogue is being done so well in this series that I don't think we need to see a Rogue solo series. Yeah, 8 for me, ultimately. Still solid. I do still like this series, but it did drop down a little bit for me from some of the other issues in this run to this point. So that would wrap it up for this episode of the show. Next episode, pretty stacked, honestly. Yeah. We're going to have to break it up into 2 recording sessions again, actually. Next issue of Daredevil. Despite that cover, Fisk is not in the issue, so I don't know. We'll see. I want to like this series, man. I keep trying to like it. It's just not doing it for me right now. Department of Truth, number 27. I'm excited for this. This series is great. Good stuff all around. Exceptional X-Men number 3. Another series actually that I am it's growing on me a little bit. I think I'm finding it quite charming, even though it is, you know, much lower stakes, but I am kind of interested in that one. Geiger, I'm kind of on the verge of dropping both this and the Redcoat. I'm reading a lot of stuff right now, so I think this might actually be my last issue of Geiger, and I may not come back for Redcoat either. So we'll see. I do like, again, the return of Junkyard Joe is in a couple issues, and I do want to read that, but we'll have to see. I'm gonna kind of see how I feel. Immortal Thor, though, amazing series. Very happy to see that next issue. I'm very excited for that. The Moon is Following Us, fun indie series from Daniel Warren Johnson. Again, very excited for that series. This will be the first issue of this series I think I've actually talked about on the show, because the first issue came out on a week that we skipped, and then this most recent issue was on that week where we just ended up not having half of our recording. So I think this will be the first time I actually thought about the series, but I do like it. It's good. We got the next issue of Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu. Again, I'm hoping this can give me something to hook onto as like a new, fresh take on this run that convinces me why it's still going. The first issue didn't quite give me that, even though I did like it. New issue of Null Hunter, solid first issue. Again, a cyberpunk take on on the tests of Hercules, the labors of Hercules. So that's cool. Phoenix number 5. I think this series is just so average. I hope this issue is good, but I'm not loving it so far. The Power Fantasy, on the other hand, very solid series. I actually love this series so far, even though I'm a little bit confused on it. I am very excited for this series. I think for this issue, I think this is a series that I'm very interested in. Predator versus Black Panther, fine, whatever. To be honest, I'm kind of over this book. I don't even know. We do know that the next one is going to be Predator versus Spider-Man. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to pick that up at all. I'm kind of over this Predator versus Marvel character thing. The exception, of course, If they do one with Daredevil, I will be there day one. That is like, I think, such a great pairing. Like, genuinely, I think that'd be a very cool matchup. But yeah, I don't know. Sentinels number 2. First issue was pretty good. I think it has a great concept behind it. The execution didn't 100%, wow me, but I do think there's a lot of potential here. New issue of Storm as well. Again, first issue didn't wow me. I think it was solid. I think there is also potential here, but yeah, the first issue was kind of just very bodge standard superhero rescuing people, so it didn't quite hook me. But yeah, I'm still kind of interested to see how this goes. New issue of Titans. I'm probably going to drop this book pretty soon. Again, like I read that last issue of the new run, starting of the new run, hoping it would kind of wow me and get me very fully back on board with the book. It did not do that. So if this one is not great, I will probably drop this as well. Next issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, amazing series. Apparently, Peter's going to be fighting Mr. Negative in this one. And also the appearance of this version of Felicia Hardy version of Black Cat. And we got Wolverine number 3. Again, solid enough series, I think, so far. Not amazing, but pretty solid. And Wonder Woman number 15, a series that I am constantly just like not sure where I land on it. I think it's okay most of the time. So yeah, anything on your end that you would like to shout out?
Spider-Gwen.
Yep, you do love yourself some Spider-Gwen. That is your favorite series that you are reading. It's your favorite one. Even more than Something is Killing the Children, you love that one.
No, we're not going to go that far.
Anyway, yeah, that'll wrap it up for this episode. Thank you, as always, everybody, for watching or listening. If you are on YouTube, you can, of course, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. You can also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more episodes of this podcast. You can also, of course, hit the bell notification so that you do not miss any episodes, because you will be notified when we post new videos. You can leave us a comment as well on both YouTube and Spotify if you'd like to let us know what some of your favorite comments are and stuff like that. What some of the stuff that maybe we're not reading that we should be reading that you really enjoy. You can also get in contact with us at our email address. That is earthsmightiestcometspod@gmail.com. That is all one word. And you can also follow the show on Spotify as well if you want to, listen to our episodes over there, and make sure you don't miss any episodes on Spotify over there as well. So yeah, as always, again, thank you everybody for watching or listening, and we will see you in the next episode.